Meeting will come to order. The city clerk will call the roll.
Thank you, sir.
Anderson Burgos.
Here.
Bartley.
Here.
Bresnahan. Leahy.
Present.
LeBron Martinez.
Here.
Lisi. McGee. McGivern.
Here.
Roman.
Here.
Sullivan. Tommen.
Here.
Bacon. Valentin.
Here.
All rise, please, for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
Thank you.
City Council.
I'd like to first welcome everyone to the Holyoke City Council's Midsummer Nightmare Meeting. As most people know, we combine what would be normally 4 meetings into 1 meeting to accommodate both for vacation schedules of not just city councilors, but also for city employees and for everyone. Also, because the budget starts July 1st, most of our financial business is concluded by June 31st. First order of business real quick is Councilor McGee cannot be here for a family commitment. As senior person, not the oldest person here, but as senior person, you have to open the meeting and ask the city council to vote who they choose to run the meeting.
Motion to allow Councilor McGivern to chair the meeting.
Second.
A second.
Under discussion. I'm just kidding.
Please, put me out of my misery. It is hot up here. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. I will make a strong suggestion. I've done this in the past, not just at this meeting, but especially at this meeting, that if we are taking a final vote this evening, please, whatever discussion, whatever questions, whatever is necessary to get answers to make that final decision, we should take place this evening. If we're taking a vote to put something into committee or to receive something, I think there's no reason to debate it this evening unless you feel it's very pertinent, and I encourage you and ask you to just allow it to go into committee, and we can take care of business in committee, and we will all be able to debate it when it comes out of committee. With that in mind, we have a couple items laid on the table from our last meeting. Real quickly, the first one was a request for taxi cabs. This was laid on the table because we had not heard from the police department about inspections. We have yet to hear from the police department about inspections. I would suggest it just remains on the table. No objections? No motion, remains on the table. Item 2 is from the Committee on Finance, was for an order that from the patrolman's line item, $5,150.59 be transferred to injured on duty, same amount. It was recommended by the Committee on Finance to adopt. This was put into committee originally because these orders we usually just take as we get them, but it was a late filed order in June, so we put it in committee. The committee reported it out. Unfortunately, when it came time to vote on it in our June meeting, we did not have a 2/3 vote of the council present, so we tabled it to have a 2/3 vote of the council present. Noting there's a 2/3 vote of the council present this evening, the chair will entertain a motion to pass the first reading.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Motion made second to pass the second reading. If there's no discussion, the clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting in favor of the transfer. If you vote no, you're voting to deny.
Is it item number 1 that we took off the table, or are you talking
It's
about
item number 2.
Thank you.
LeBron Martinez.
Yes.
Lisi.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Roman.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Tommen.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Valentin.
Yes.
Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Bresnahan.
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
Unanimous.
By your vote, you've adopted the transfer. Item number 3, also from the Committee on Finance, was for an order there being hereby appropriated by transfer $7,200.90. The line items it's coming from, it would be the pay assistant solicitor, pay associate solicitor, broken down to $2,057.63 and $5,143.23, into education training, $1,450.90, office supplies, $1,500, in-state travel, $750, dues subscriptions, $1,500, litigation, $2,000, total of $7,290. This was recommended in the prior fiscal year. We failed to be able to vote on it because we did not have a 2/3 necessary sitting of the full city council at that meeting. The chair would recommend we dispose of this.
So moved.
I'm going to make a motion to pass the
Motion
first
made
reading.
second. there's really nothing to vote on because this is last year's budget and we cannot go back in time. Is there a motion to give leave to withdraw?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Comes to the portion of the meeting known as public comment. We have one citizen that has signed up for public comment. That is Edward Owen. Edward lists his address as 120 Front Street here in Holyoke. Mr. Owen, if you'd like to come forward to the mic, I think you're familiar with the mic after earlier this evening. And you have
Thank you.
about 90 seconds to talk about any item on the agenda. No new comments or no new testimony as far as any public hearings this evening, though, but you can talk on the vote.
I would like to ask for an time extension on the decision for 120 Front Street for that, so that my attorney can continue his work. What I failed to mention during my previous statements was that I had an attorney working on this for over a year, and he passed away. So I had to find another attorney that would take it over, and I did find an attorney that would take it over. And I think that he can finish it up in 10 days or less, maybe, hopefully less. And I'm just asking that if the full council will just give me that 10 days. And this is to prove that I have easement rights on 120 Front Street.
Anything further, Mr. Owen?
I'm sorry?
Anything further?
No, I don't want to overstay my time.
No, you still have plenty of time. Thank
It's
you.
okay. I made enough
Thank you for
last-
commenting. Moving on to communications.
Motion
Item-
to take up, suspend the necessary rules and take up 4 and 10 as a package. They're both new appointments.
Motion made and seconded to take up items 4 and 10 as a package. If there's no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. 4 and 10 are new ones.
And refer to,
Public service, please.
service.
Second
Second.
to refer to Committee of Public Service for interviews. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved.
5 through 9 as a package, please.
Motion made and seconded to suspend the rules to take up items 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. They are reappointments as a package for the purpose of confirming the reappointments. Is there any discussion on suspending the rules? To take them up together? That's okay. All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Each of these are reappointments. I'll read them very quickly. Item 5, Mr. James Sutter, he's 30 Fairfield Avenue. He's going to be reappointed to the Gas and Electric Commission. Item 6 is Mary Louise Monahan, 20 Coit Street, reappointed to the Board of Appeals. Item 7 is Marco Cristini of 66 Fairfield Avenue, reappointment to the Fairfield Avenue Historic District. Item 8 is Dorothea McNeil, 226 Beach Street, reappointed to the Republican member of the Board of Registers. Item 9 is Kristen LaChapelle of 128 Central, reappointed to the Commission of Planning Board.
Motion to confirm all the reappointments pending all municipal fees and taxes are paid.
Second.
Motion made second to confirm the reappointments. Is there any discussion other than that? If not, all those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? So moved.
And Councilor McGivern, you have the notes from the tax collector and the treasurer that all the municipal fees and taxes have been paid?
We do not.
We may want to leave it on the table then.
I think the vote stands as it was worded that they will not be reappointed, confirmed, unless those kind of, I agree with you, those confirmations are provided to the city clerk's office,
Okay.
if that
Thank
makes
you.
sense.
Sure, that's fine.
Motion to take up item number 11, 12 as a package.
Motion made second to suspend the rules to take 11 and 12 as a package. All those in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 11 is the collective bargaining agreement of the Holyoke Deputy Chiefs Association. And item number 12 is the collective bargaining agreement with USFW Local 1459 Council on Aging. Motion is
Motion to receive and send to finance.
motion made second to receive for the Committee on Finance. Is there any discussion? Everybody get copies?
Yes.
In our pack, yeah.
In the packet.
On that motion, is there any discussion? All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? So moved. Item number 13, from our city, acting city auditor, the monthly budget reports.
Motion to receive, send to finance with a copy to ordinance.
Motion made second to receive for the Committee on Finance with a copy of the ordinance. Any discussion?
I'd just like to note that I'd like a copy to go to ordinance because I think we should be taking up the sewer rate at some point soon. And I think that would be important information for us to access in setting a new rate.
Any further discussion? On the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 14 from Bellamy Smith, the acting auditor, regarding salary ordinances.
Motion to receive.
Motion made, second to receive. Is there
Send to
any
ordinance.
discussion? Copy, and a copy to the Committee on Ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 15 from our City Clerk, Brenda Murphy McGee, the fiscal budget 2019 cuts.
Be received.
Motion made, second to receive. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 16 from our City Clerk, the MMC minutes from the regular meetings of June 19th and the special meeting of June 28th.
Motion to
Receive
receive.
and
Just
approve.
motion to table, Mr.
Motion to,
Chairman. There's
I
a couple
believe
errors in there.
there's no narrative with the special meeting.
And there are a couple errors, so.
Okay. Motion to table these items
Second.
for our next meeting to correct some of the errors and get the narrative part for the special meeting.
Sure. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 17 from our city treasurer, the updated list of 100 tax delinquent property owners.
Be received. Copy to finance.
Second.
Motion made, second to receive for a copy to the Committee on Finance.
Mr. President, can we take 18, 19, 20?
On 17, all those in favor? Any opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Motion to suspend the rules for 18, 19, 20,
21?
21.
Yep.
On that motion, all those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? These are the minutes of the Parks and Rec Commission dated April 26th this year, Board of Health dated June 7th this year, Public Works Sewer Commission, Stormwater Drain, May 14th and June 4th, and from the Board of Fire Commissioners, May 23rd and June 20th. The motion is to receive these minutes as required to be filed with the City Council. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 22, communication from David Conti, manager of the Hoyoke Waterworks.
Receive, please.
Motion made, second to
Well, he
receive
wants
for
a meeting, so.
refer to Committee on,
Public safety, or? Sorry?
there's some bonding coming down the road, and part of the letter talks about bonding.
Oh, finance?
Finance.
Okay.
Yeah. On the motion to receive refer to Committee on Finance, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 22 is from Hoyoke Media, the annual financial findings, including their Form 990 from PC and the Independent Auditor's Report.
Make a motion to receive. We all got a copy.
Motion made, second to receive, and a copy,
Finance.
Finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item number 24. General
receive.
Counsel, okay,
Gabalowski.
Well, motion received.
close. Letter of gratitude of purchase of Mount Delaware Church. Motion is to receive.
Receive.
All those, any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved.
No, Mr. President,
Councilor Bartley,
can I just make a quick comment on that?
please, Councilor Bartley.
I'm sorry about that.
Right.
It was we took this, we had this letter before us, although it wasn't officially before us, for the meeting, on the special meeting. It was really a beautiful letter and a well-written letter, and I really encourage all of us to read it. But it was, as you know, we neglected to approve the contract by a 9-0 vote. So, but that, nevertheless, it was a really nice letter, and we'll just keep that in the jacket, and hopefully that issue will come up again.
Point well taken, and it's, I think most of us had a chance to read it now, and hopefully the issue will come up in a different fashion in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
And the letter will certainly be part of the discussion. Moving on to petitions. We have a petition from O'Connell Properties for a zone change at 522 Hampton Street. Motion made, second to receive for the Committee on Ordinance. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? So moved. Number 26, petition of Isabel Rivera for a new second-hand
Finance.
license. Motion to receive and for the Committee on
Finance.
Finance. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. We're getting into reports of committees, starting with the Ordinance Committee. Item 27A, to whom is referred a zone change application of People's Bank for 1850 Northampton Street, Holyoke, Mass., map number 110, block number 00, parcel 104. This is from a current zone of residential 2 to a proposed zone of business limited. Recommend from the Ordinance Committee that the zone change be approved. Counselor Bacon, Counselor Bartley, Counselor Lisi, and Counselor Anderson Burgos.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to pass the first reading.
Motion made second to receive, pass the first reading. Counselor Bacon for a report.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we held the public hearings as appropriate. We all know this is the Yankee Peddler, and that they have committed to preserving what they can of the historic nature of the Yankee Peddler, and it's a unanimous recommendation in order for the bank to move forward with their project.
Is there any further discussion? Counselor Bartley.
This is the building that got a lot of attention. It was moved, the counsel for the advocate was before us. It seems like a very straightforward zone change. They to Business Limited, and they tried to, get around having to do this, but upon advice of our law department and planning department, they couldn't. So this is really to allow them to put in a road that will access their new business. So we were very confident in this, and again, we're grateful to people's investment and reinvestment in the city of Holyoke.
Any further discussion? The motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Motion to pass the second
Second.
reading.
Motion made second, the zone change pass its second reading. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Motion that the passage be ordained.
Second.
Motion made second, the passage be ordained. There is no further discussion, therefore the clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you are voting in favor of the zone change. If you vote no, you're voting to deny it. Earlier this evening, with the help of the city clerk, Gladys LeBron Martinez was pulled to go first.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Roman,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentin,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan,
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
Unanimous.
By your vote, you've adopted the zone change for People's Bank. Item 27B, the Committee on Ordinance, Terms of Further
Mr.
Order.
President?
Councilor Tallman?
Yes, is it possible to take, suspend the rules and take out of order for somebody in the audience, item 27G, out of order?
If there's a second, it is.
Second.
Motion made and second to proceed out of order to item 27G. Any discussion on proceeding out of order? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? So moved. 27G was in the Committee on Ordinance and was referred to petition of the Roman Catholic Bishop of Springfield, a corporation sole for Blessed Sacrament Parish for a 4.7.3 non-conforming structural special permits for a sign replacement at 1945 Northampton Street. The map is 111, block 00, parcel 062. The recommendation from our ordinance committee is to approve and adopt this special permit for the non-conforming structure.
So motion to receive and approve the special permit.
Motion made second to receive and adopt the special permit. Under discussion, report, Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we held the public hearing on this. The role of our committee in this regard was simply the location of the sign. All the other work was done through the planning board relative to the nature of the sign. And the committee, I believe, unanimously recommended to approve the continued non-conforming structure, which is the same structure that exists currently.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Bartley.
Mr. President, as I announced that night on our subcommittee meeting, I disclosed that I'm a parishioner of the proponent. I also disclosed at that time that I would contact the State Ethics Commission. I did contact the State Ethics Commission. I spoke with the attorney for the day. I was provided her input on this. I filled out the disclosure form as required by Chapter 268A, Section 23B3. I submitted that to the city clerk on Friday the 3rd, and I disclosed that I'm a parishioner, and at the bottom I said, taking into account the facts that I have disclosed the above, I feel that I can perform my official duties objectively and fairly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bartley. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Leahy.
I suppose I should say as well that I am one time I didn't say this, or they thought I didn't say this, so I got in a little trouble, but I am a parishioner of St. Jerome's. However, because of the good Reverend over at Blessed Sacrament. My wife seems to go there every week, so maybe I should switch over. But I do want to say that I'm not a parishioner at Blessed Sacrament, but I think my wife thinks she is. Thank you.
Father Gentle, I think that's an application for a new parishioner, but I'm not sure.
Send him some envelopes.
Is there any further discussion? If not, the motion on the floor is to adopt the special permit. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you are voting in favor of the special permit. If you vote no, you're voting to deny.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lacy,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Roman,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentin,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan.
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
Unanimous.
By your vote, you have adopted the special permit for the non-conforming structure and the new sign at Blessed Sacrament. Item 27, the committee, 27C, the Committee on Ordinance to refer an order that the salary ordinance for pay scales, non-union employees who have worked for the city a minimum of 10 years and have not received a raise as confirmed by the treasurer in the past 10 years be increased by 3% so that these employees may receive a pay increase. Recommend that it be adopted by the Committee on Ordinance. Councilor Bacon, Bartley, Lisi, Anderson, Burgos, and Roman. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just note we'll have to go
Back to.
Back to 27B, but that's okay.
after. But
Sorry.
So on 27C, the committee took up this order. We amended the order to address the specific people per a list that had been provided so that they would have the opportunity to get a 3% increase, or they are the specific people who have not received any increase in 5 or more years. And so that is what the specific order is before you. And the committee, I think, voted 4-1 to recommend this to the body. Or actually, no, I stand corrected on that. This is coming to you without a recommendation from the body. And so my encouragement for the vote tonight is to approve this. It's not a perfect fix, but every other group has been addressed either by forming a group, forming a contract, or some other workaround, with some folks in the last budget receiving significant increases, while these few people have been left behind. So it is a symbolic vote. On the other hand, it is real money, and 3% is more than 0, which is what they've been receiving. So I encourage my colleagues to support this, and we'll have to continue to work forth on the matter. Perhaps otherwise there's been, it's now 5 years, so different approaches have changed the whole nature of the study at this point. Thank you.
Councilor Lisi.
Thank you. I did not vote for the 3% across the board increase in committee, but I will be voting for it tonight. I do want to say a few words. First of all, I do think that 3%, while it is going to translate to a decent amount of money in terms of a pay increase for some people that have not gotten a raise in 5 or more years, 3% is really small for some of the people whose salaries were in the salary study. And if you look at the amount that the salary study was suggesting based on market rate values in the area and in similar cities, the 3% increase does not come close. On the other hand, there are people who were not included in the salary study, who were making what would have been market rate at the time, who are getting substantial increases. So the raise is merited, absolutely, but the 3% across the board does not take into account people's job descriptions and what the market rate compensation should be for those job descriptions. And mind you, the salary study was using data from at least 5 to 7 years ago. And so there's been significant amounts of inflation, and therefore if you calculate what people could have been earning, given the consumer price index, which is what the auditor notes in his letter, we're really not doing justice by these people. And I think we need to take a look at a systematic way to improve salary structure, the salary structure across the entire city. Now, there are, only a handful of people here that are not in a union that have not been able to access an increase in their salary for 5 or more years. Compared to what was originally in the salary study, we're looking at 12 individuals now compared to 47 originally. And yeah, some of those 47 original individuals have moved into unions, but that does not necessarily mean that they have gotten raises since they moved into those unions. So I do think that this is a very piecemeal solution. I think it is something, I'm going to vote for it, but I do want to just make sure that we're not playing heroes and giving this 3% increase across the board to a handful of people when we've been holding the comprehensive market-based salary structure hostage for the past several years. It's been in committee and it's not moving anywhere, so I just want to make sure that we have an eye on doing something that is more sustainable, long-term, and structural, not only for the non-union employees, but for the union employees that have maxed out or capped out within the ordinances. Thank you.
Councilor Reagan.
I just want to make sure everybody is aware that should this be passed tonight, this does not give the people the raise. It only gives them the ability to receive the raise, and the mayor would need to put that forth to us for that to actually happen. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Lisi.
I think what we're doing tonight is a 3% market rate increase, and that's going to be translated to an ordinance change, and then what Councilor Bacon is talking about is the actual appropriation from the mayor.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's what I
Yes.
said.
Okay, just making sure. Thank you.
Yes, and it's across the board, but and God forbid, I would never debate from this podium, Councilor Bresnan, because no one has in the last 6.5 years. But it's across the board is for people who are 5 years at the max. And it is a window that opens up for people who, because they hit the max, nothing happens. Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, I just want to support this. I think we all understand it's subject to appropriation. I compliment the maker of the order because nobody else came forward. Nobody else said a word, not for administration, not for years, about these 11. They just let them slide. Department heads. So, criticize the city council as much as you want. Nobody else brought it forward but the maker of the order. So at least now there's the ability, subject to appropriation, as we know, to give them the 3% raise. But I don't think anybody's taking bows on this. We're $2 million out of whack. So, and it was 2.4, but now we sliced it $2 million. So I don't think this is a proud moment, but at least somebody made an effort to recognize these 11 employees, and I think that's commendable, because the rhetoric going around here is unbelievable. But now we've got something in writing that's going to go into ordinance should this body pass it, and I fully support it.
On the motion,
I believe I neglected to say motion to
Councilor
pass the
Reagan.
first reading.
Yeah, I was going to note that. The motion on the floor is to pass the first reading. If there's no objection, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion made second to pass the second reading. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion made second to passage be ordained. There's no further discussion. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you are voting in favor of the new ordinance. If you vote no, you are voting against it.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Roman,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tommen,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentin,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan,
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
Unanimous.
By your vote, you've adopted the new ordinance.
Mr. President, this
I'm
one,
sorry. Council President.
thank you. I realize that there are some residents in the audience, that may have matters on the agenda. I respectfully request that if those matters are before us, that maybe we take them out of order and have them up and out. And none of
Second.
them are in my jacket, and I say this with respect, and it's just a request, but if there's any issues that we have some members of the audience that reside here, pay taxes here, if we could get them in and out, I think that would be cordial.
That's
Thank
fine.
you.
I just
President?
need Councilor Tomlin, if he can do it.
Yeah, if we could suspend the rules on the DGNR committee, take up item number 31A. Out of order. if possible.
I mean,
Is there a second for that, or
Second.
well, just under discussion.
We have people here.
I
under
think,
discussion, Counselor Bartley?
I think I mean, really, I think we all know where there's advocates here for these other issues as well. I mean, I don't have a dog in any fight here. I'm just saying there's advocates that have put a lot of time in here to make them wait anymore.
I recommend that we take any advocates for any issues. Let's get the audience cleared up. They don't want to hear us, they don't want to hear us bickering back and forth about issues they're not familiar with. Let's get everybody that's here for issues tonight on their way home, and then we can spend the rest of the night here.
27B is here.
Okay?
Not if I can help it, Counselor President.
10 o'clock, 10 o'clock, we're out of here.
Okay, I mean,
Okay. The DGR was, worked, and thank the ordinance committees, they worked very hard last night and the week before, and DGR this evening got some important issues through. So I guess we're going to go to, Counselor Tallman, what'd you say?
Item number 31A, if it
we didn't vote on
suspend.
it.
We didn't vote on it, but I just recommended, you don't have to, I just brought it up because we're trying to get people out of here. We could
Is there a
go right
second
through
to the
ordinance.
motion? A motion to take out of order 31A, all those in favor?
I would prefer the
Aye.
chair
Aye.
have it.
I'm going to say no. I mean, they didn't
Well, I mean,
vote on it, right? I mean,
It'll take,
My recommendation, again, and if I may, Mr. President, for the moment,
Counselor President?
my recommendation is simply that if there's people in the audience, in the chambers, that have issues before us, let's give them that courtesy. And then, we can debate the rest of the night. That's all. I mean, and it was just a courtesy request. If the chair or the vice chair, whoever heard these issues tonight, are not on that same page, that's fine. I didn't ask for any issues to be taken out, but I'm just a simple request. I mean, let's get them home to their families, and the rest of us can stay here.
The motion has been seconded. Any further discussion? On the motion to take out of order, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carries. 31A is the Committee on Development and Government Relations, to whom was referred a petition from Samar Realty Incorporated for a special permit for a drive-through restaurant, Dunkin' Donuts, located at 500 East Hampton Road. The map is 213, Block 00, Parcel 003. This is out of committee without a recommendation. Chair needs a motion before we have discussion.
Okay, it was recommended, but I'll make the motion is that we grant a special permit with conditions.
Second.
Councilor Bartley, I'm sorry. I'm reading the agenda, which obviously wasn't corrected from earlier. And the motion in committee was 5-0?
It was.
Yes.
Mr.
Okay,
President.
my apologies. I read the agenda instead of the committee report. And that, the 5-0 recommendation is from Councilor Bartley, Sullivan, Valentine, Tallman, and Roman. Councilor Bartley in the committee report?
Thank you, Mr. President. The location of this is at the top of Route 141, which is essentially the log cabin, the lower parking lot. Currently on the site is a Mount Town Joe to Go. The proponent before us asked that we grant a special permit for a drive-through for the benefit of a Dunkin' Donuts. The building will be approximately 2,400 square feet. About a quarter of that, 600 square feet or so, will be a new business proposed by, I take it would be the lessor of the property, the log cabin, and they're proposing a business called Delaney's Market. The proponent provided us with tonight and in other meetings, provide us tonight in a public hearing a review of the drive-through, a review of the lanes, a review of the parking lot, a review of the building itself. Answered all our questions. We opened up to public comment. There was no public comment. The committee implemented three conditions to a special permit that were recommended by two of which were recommended by the city engineer. One condition, Mr. President, is that it says 1 year from the date of issuance of a CO for the proposed drive-through or sooner in the event that significant traffic safety issues result from the drive-through restaurant, jointly identified by HPD and the Department of Public Works, the owner shall come back before the city council to review site operations and traffic flow associated with the site. Should documented problems exist, the owner shall identify and implement measures such as adding turning lanes to mitigate such concerns, subject to approval of the Department of Public Works and the Planning Board. Condition number 2, Mr. President, City Council approval for the requested special permit for a drive-through restaurant is contingent upon full compliance with all of their board and department of city, all other city board and department approvals for this project. The council reserves the right to rescind such approval if full compliance is not achieved and maintained by the permit holder. The third one, and I appreciate Councilor Leahy bringing this up, just in the world when you get lost with stuff, but we added hours for the drive-through as 5 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week. And if I just may add one or two other comments, Mr. President, there was, as I said in subcommittee meeting, I mean, we're all aware of the significance of the log cabin for the city of Holyoke for many reasons, whether it's taxes, whether it's job creation, they create hundreds of jobs, whether it's perception, how having such an icon at the top of the hill, and so what the proponents have done is carried on the legacy of Edna Williams and made it bigger and better than what she probably could have ever dreamed and anybody else could have ever dreamed. So Mick and Peter, and of course Larry, we don't forget Larry's involvement, really took their dream and expanded. Now what they're doing is going on to another dream, which is, so they had the amount of time to go, well, it looks like the Dunkin' Donuts franchise saw that business going so well, they said, well, let's get a Dunkin' Donuts in there. But Peter and Mick said, well, we had this concept called Delaney Market, which fortunately I've had the chance to see and sample myself, which is tremendous. I think it's going to be a real asset for the city of Holyoke. And now they want to bring this concept from, which is now, it's in Longmeadow, at the Longmeadow shops. They want to bring it right next door to their existing facility at 500 East Hampton Road. So knowing the significance of all this investment, certain of us, myself included, but certain of us on the city council put in more time than we would ever have put in prior to a meeting, just to make sure we got it right. So we were working with conservation, working with public works, working with planning, working with other department heads to make sure we got there. And yet, Mr. President, I mean, you know as well as anybody else, that section of road, Mr. President, is really a tough section. Whether it's, and there was one person in public comment that are in public in the public hearing part. I neglected to read it, but there's a resident at East Hampton Road. I should say East Hampton. I thought it was Southampton Road, but who's just definitely against it. But I think it's it's traffic, and it's why the need for a fourth Dunkin' Donuts. Well, that wasn't brought up in public hearing, Mr. President, but I think we've discussed before many times that. I mean, whatever the market is, we don't control what the market is. So if it's 4 Dunkin' Donuts or 40. I mean, that's what the market is telling the private sector to invest. I mean, we just noted we're $2 million out of whack here. We've got to try to do our best to try to help businesses. So this is what we did leading up to this meeting. And yet, Mr. President, we know the hazards of this road, it's not enough. So we are adding what we feel those first 2 conditions are reasonable conditions because of the particular roadway. The proponent moved the drive-through entryway 200 feet to the east, and with the able help of our new city engineer who appeared before us for the first time, and the DPW superintendent, it looks like, Mr. President, there may be some open questions. I mean, we just don't know. So the proponents didn't balk at any of this. I know these are a little bit unusual for special permit conditions, but they, as we all know, per 9.3.3 under our ordinance code, that we have a fair amount of leeway to impose conditions. So we expected we think they're reasonable. The city engineer thinks they're reasonable, and they'll continue to work with the property owners. So with that, Mr. President, I'll take any questions, and I appreciate your time.
Councilor Bacon?
Thank you. I just really have a comment. I travel that road quite a bit, and I really think that the applicant in this case should probably plan on needing to do those turning lanes because it is a dangerous road. There's going to be more traffic. They've already costed it out to the cost of $20,000 to $25,000, so it seems to me that's almost an acknowledgement that it's needed. And everywhere we're seeing this nature of entering and exiting, you see the need for these lanes. So I actually hope it's a plan on the part of the applicant, but I would hope they expect that it will likely occur. But thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
Joe?
Councilor Tallman.
Yes, I sat before the hearing tonight and very much in approval of this plan. And my concern also is what my colleague stated about the traffic. And the engineer stated that to us tonight about the turning lane when they go in to make a really right turn and go around to the drive-through. And I think it's important that we look at the traffic issue because, you know, not only that it's a busy place, I don't think there's going to be cars driving up there just to go there. They're trying to capture the traffic that's going down that road. But it is something that I think is something to look at. The engineer stated that, and that we have to look at the roadway and the improvements there. But for the business to grow and thrive up there, I think, the Log Cabin Delaney has been a great corporate citizen over the years. And I've dealt with them over the years and have great service with various functions that I've had with them, and to create some more jobs. I mean, we have a lot of areas in Holyoke that don't have anything in it. So we have a lot of vacant areas, and to bring in a business that's going to bring in, 25 to 30 jobs in the community. As we stated tonight, we're almost $2 million in the hole. Anything that we have to grow our community is important. So we have to be more inviting to business, and this is one area that we can say, hey, we want your growth, but we do have concerns about the safety of our residents and the people that travel that roadway. So I'm very much in approval of this project.
Councilor Lacey.
Thank you. I really like the idea that I heard tonight about a drive-through restaurant next to the log cabin. However, I was very, very concerned about the idea of the 180-degree turn coming off of 141. And given that 141 is actually a state highway, should we have the state involved in in the creation of, mitigating any sort of traffic concerns? I guess the question, it's more of a question, does our Department of Planning Works, along with the Planning Board, have the ability to approve traffic changes to 141? That would be the question that I have out there.
Any further discussion? Councilor Bartley.
The answer is yes.
Can you say more about that?
Yes, the Holyoke Department of Public Works and City Engineer can implement conditions on that stretch of state highway, because there was no question in our meetings that from the city engineer that they had that ability. So we didn't have any involvement from Mass DOT on this particular roadway. That's all I can add at this point.
Councilor Lacey, all set?
Yeah, I'm all set. It's like I want to see this all happen, but I have a lot of concerns about the practicality of making this all work. And so I'm going to, vote yes this evening. I think the conditions allow for the council to retain some control over the actual special permit until we can be assured that the traffic issues are going to be hammered out and that safety is going to be a keystone here. So I'll be voting in favor, but I do have some grave concerns that I hope are addressed in the project as it moves forward.
Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, thank you. As a person who used to work for the Mass DOT lets the cities and towns to do their jobs with their engineers and their department superintendents of their DPW, because quite frankly, they live here, they know these projects, and they know them well. So I would suggest any concerns or whatnot, sending it to Michael McManus, and he can get those answered. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Yep.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yeah, and I'll make it quick. As far as these concerns, there'll be other chances and venues to address these. So nothing to do with a drive-through permit special application itself. Also, one thing to consider, what's dangerous about the top of that mountain is people going over the crest of that hill at 50 miles an hour. Maybe this will slow some people down a little bit and there'll be fewer problems.
Enforcement? Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, the motion on the floor is to adopt the special permit with conditions. The conditions, as Councilor Bartley stated, are attached. One is the one-year date from the certificate of occupancy for a proposed drive-through restaurant, or sooner. And I think where sooner is the key. In the event that the significant traffic safety issues result from the drive-through restaurant is jointly identified by the Holyoke Police Department, Department of Public Works, the owner shall come back before the City Council to review the site operations and traffic flow associated with the site. Should document exist, any problems that continue to exist, the owner shall identify and implement measures such as adding turns to mitigate the concerns subject to the approval of the DPW. The second condition is the City Council approve for the request for special permit at 500 East Hampton Road contingent on full compliance with all other boards, departments, approvals of the project. The council reserves the right to rescind any approval if compliance is not achieved and maintained by the owner. I think it was said in the public hearing, but this is subject to site plan review by the planning board. And the third condition is the hours of operation, 5 a.m. to 11 p.m., which are consistent with the other Dunkin' Donuts, I believe, in the area. Is there any discussion on the motion to pass a special permit or the conditions? If not, the clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you are voting in favor of the special permit with the added conditions. If you vote no, you are voting against it.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Roman,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentin,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
unanimous.
By your vote, you've adopted the special permit with conditions. Are there any other motions to go out of order?
Yeah.
We'd have to ask the public, I guess.
Is the next one. 27B.
27B from the Committee on Ordinance was referred to petition of Rise Holdings Incorporated, formerly GTI, the special permit to amend an existing permit to allow a marijuana manufacturing establishment in the existing building at 28 Appleton Street in Holyoke. Applicants to the same recommend the application be approved with the following conditions: that the owner of the building always pay commercial property tax to the extent allowed by the federal, state, and local laws for the duration of the special permit. 2, that the business retain a minimum of 30% Holyoke residents for non-security jobs. And 3, the hiring preference be given to security personnel that are retired Holyoke police or retired number of other police departments now living in the city of Holyoke. This recommendation is with conditions is from Councilor Bacon, Bartley, Lisi, Anderson, Burgos, and Roman.
Motion to receive and adopt the
Motion-
special permit.
Motion made second to receive and adopt the special permit with conditions. Councilor Bacon with the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is an existing company, formerly known as GTI, that has changed their name to Rise. And they simply came in to amend their existing permit without making any other changes, and so there were no other reviews and recommendations that came into the committee from the planning department relative to this. There was the public hearing held. There was input and discussion with the applicant relative to the noted conditions. And the conditions that are noted, I think, were less than what the applicant had already established for internal goals, per my recollection. I'll stand corrected. We've had a number of applications before us, and a number of public hearings, but that is my recollection regarding this amendment. So it was unanimously recommended to the body. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Councilor Lisi.
I just wanted to say that I'll be voting in favor of this. Just to somewhat reiterate what Councilor Bacon said, there's no substantive changes to the type of activities that's going on within the facility. It's simply that now that recreational marijuana has passed at the state level and it's legal to grow, some of the plants in that facility are going to be put to medical, and the other plants are going to be put to recreational use. So it seems like a very straightforward change.
Make a motion to approve it.
Councilor Roman.
Yes, I want to just state for the record, I will be voting on tonight's vote and participating in any discussion. I checked in with the State Ethics Commission Friday, the Law Department. I too filed a 23B3 form with the clerk's office. So I know that form now well. Thank you, Councilor Bartley. And so I just want to let everyone know that I too will be voting in favor of this. And I provided all the necessary conflict of interest forms. Thank you.
Just because you smoke it, or?
A little bit of both.
Wow.
Damn shade.
What's going on here?
We all got to fill out that form then, right, Dave?
I don't.
Any further discussion?
I make a motion to approve it.
If there's no further discussion, a motion on the floor is to adopt the special permit with the conditions. Clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting in favor of that. If you vote no, you're voting to deny.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Roman,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentin,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan,
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
Unanimous.
By your vote, you've adopted the special permit with conditions. Item 27D from the Committee on Ordinance. To whom is referred a petition of George Terse of Gloversville, New York, to operate an RMRE and MMD for medical and recreational marijuana purposes at 630 Boyer Street, Holyoke, Mass. Recommend that the application be approved with the following conditions. One, that the owner of the building always pay commercial property tax rate to the extent to allowed by the federal, state, local laws for the duration of a special permit, that the business retain a minimum of 30% Holyoke residents for the non-security jobs, that the hiring preference be given to security personnel that are retired Holyoke police or retired member of another police department now living in the city of Holyoke. There shall be no marijuana consumption to be allowed on the site. There shall be no deliveries of retail or medical marijuana from the site to individual homes or residents of people, that the hours of operation are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday.
Mr. President, if I may.
Councilor Bacon?
Thank you. I would just like to make a motion to amend this application to add MME to the vote that we're taking tonight, because the MME component was discussed in the public hearing on the date of June 12th and from that date forward, so it should be amended.
Can you just state for the record what the MME stands for? Medical Marijuana Establishment.
For those who may not know, the MME is the Medical Marijuana Establishment, and there was some other clarification because it had come in initially under RMD, and the new verbiage that we had adopted was the RMRE and MMD, but the manufacturing component was a part of the public hearing process in this regard. So just wanted to make it clear that that's what you're voting on. So the recommendation of the committee is to receive and adopt the special permit.
Sorry, Councilor Bacon, it was marijuana manufacturing establishment, not medical marijuana establishment, but.
Oh, all right, well, anyway.
Yeah.
The alphabet soup continues. That's what I've started taking to calling it.
Okay. Motion on the floor is to receive the committee report. The recommendation was to adopt with the conditions by Councilor Bacon, Bartley, Lisi, Anderson, Burgos, and Roman. Also, there is a, I believe, friendly amendment to include if there's any confusion, the MME as part of the special permit with the changing times as we look at this new industry.
So I'll make that as a motion.
Okay.
Second it.
So on the motion to add the MME, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. On the original motion, is there any discussion? Councilor Brown Martinez.
Yeah, I just got a question, how, on the basis of the hours, how do we come up with hours of operations on a business that can probably operate in a sense of, the growing ones that are growing, that they can be working like night shift and whatnot? How do we come about the hourly of operations?
Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the course of the public hearings and in getting feedback from the neighbors in the community relative to the retail sales, it was felt that it was a reasonable consideration to the neighborhood and the neighbors to accept the standing ordinance for all of the days, but to amend it on the Sunday. And that was also not argued or opposed by the applicant. And you'll see that it's consistently applied in the other similar
The one with the GTA?
application.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
The existing ordinance is 8 to 8. The only question is Sunday. And I believe we're going to address that in the ordinance in the near future. So we are consistent with everything.
Okay, thank you.
So, if I may.
Councilor Bacon?
So what we did is we addressed the retail aspect separately from the manufacturing
Okay.
aspect. I don't personally see a need to change the manufacturing, but
Okay.
that's me.
Yeah, it's the manufacturing that I had a question more than anything. I
That's-
can, yeah,
That was not changed.
thank you.
Councilor Anderson Burgos?
It was already answered.
You are Councilor Anderson Burgos. No is not.
Last time I checked.
Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, the clerk is going to call the roll. If you vote yes, you are voting in favor of the special permit with the conditions as written and read into the record. If you vote no, you are voting against it.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes,
Lisi,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Roman,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentin,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan,
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Bless you.
God bless you.
Is that a yes?
strong, sorry.
27E. Item 27E, I believe.
You're
It's also
slowing
from the
down.
Committee on Ordinance for a petition of Hot House Hoyoke Audrey Park for a special permit for marijuana manufacturing establishment. That's the MME at 5B Appleton Street. Recommend the application be given leave to withdraw without prejudice per request of the applicant.
Receive and adopt?
Motion to receive and
Motion made second to receive the petitioner's request to give leave to withdraw and to adopt that without prejudice.
correct.
Is there any discussion? I'm sorry, did we get that in writing?
Yes, it was a letter submitted by the applicant
Thank you.
at request of their,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nope.
So moved. Item 27F, also from the Committee on Ordinance, to refer to public hearing for the petition of Cana Provisions Incorporated for a special permit for recreational marijuana dispensary at 380R Dwight Street. Recommend the application be approved with the following conditions: that the owner of the building pay that commercial property tax rate extent allowed by federal, state, and local laws for the duration of the special permit, that the business retain a minimum of 30% Holyoke residents of non-security jobs. The hiring preferences be given to security personnel that are retired Holyoke police officers or retired member of another police department now living in the city of Holyoke. There should be no marijuana consumption on the allowed site. There should be no deliveries of retail or medical marijuana from the site to individual homes, residents, or people. The hours of operation, again, 8 to 8, Monday through Saturday, and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday. Recommended for adoption by Councilor Bacon, Bartley, and Roman.
motion to receive and adopt the special permit.
Motion made second to
Second.
receive, adopt the special permit with conditions. Councilor Bacon for the report.
This was one of three that we held a number of hearings on, and we have tried to be consistent in our recommendations relative to this new entity and group of businesses in the city, and it's similar to the other ones in that
And-
regard.
Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, the clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting in favor of this special permit with conditions as written and read. If you vote no, you're voting to deny it.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Roman,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentin,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan,
Yes.
Leahy. Unanimous.
By your vote, you've adopted the special permit with conditions. Moving on to the Committee on Finance.
President,
Council Leahy.
I think, kind of been jumping all over the place. I think that we failed to go through the President's report at this time. I just had a few items I wanted to add.
Well, we did fail to go through the President's report. I thought it was appropriate, seeing the President wasn't here. But if we can take a few moments to, in the tradition of the President's report, announce any items that a councilor has. And actually, there's a couple of things I'd like to announce myself. Councilor Leahy?
Yeah, thank you. The first thing, I just want to thank Irma. Irma always does a fantastic job running the show when Brenda's not here, so thank you, Irma, for that. The second thing is a good friend of mine turned 61 today. I just want to wish Peter Tallman a happy birthday.
Hey.
Thank you. Thank you, James.
First round's on Peter.
I'm going home early tonight.
And the last thing I want to say is, on behalf of the Public Service Committee, more specifically, the auditor position, talking to Hector, our new personnel department, we got 26 applications in for the auditor position. What I think, talking with Joe, is what we'll do is myself and Councilor McGee will go down and we'll go through the applications and put forth, something that's manageable for a public service interview. However, having said that, Ryan has sent out all the resumes, and if you haven't received them, Ryan will send them again, or if you want a hard copy, then Ryan will give you a hard copy as well. If there's any person in that package who has applied, any counselor here that wants put forth a name to be interviewed, we will absolutely do that. So nobody that has applied will not get interviewed if a counselor puts their name forward. Does anybody have any questions on that process?
Councilor Roman? Any questions on Councilor Leahy in the auditor's position? Hey, Councilor Roman?
Under the President's report, I just want to invite all my colleagues and everyone at the public audience viewing tomorrow night, in conjunction with the Parks and Recs Nueva Esperanza, and part of this GTI funding that has been coming in those last 2 years. I know we've had discussions, but there's the Holyoke Summer Movie Night series. So tomorrow at Pena Park will be the Black Panther, free of charge. Parks and Recs will be giving out free popcorn and snow cones starting at 6:30, and we'll play the movie starting around 7 o'clock. Next Wednesday is the Avengers at Carlos Vega Park, and we end on the 22nd at Community Field. But if you guys want to come and shell some popcorn with me and come have a good time with some families, everyone's invited to attend, free of charge.
Councilor Sullivan and I were hoping that in the future it'll also be the Pink Panther. Councilor Sullivan?
Yep. For any councilors interested also, we now have the community preservation plan done. It's available online for the public. I do have a limited number of copies for anybody that would like a hard copy. We only printed 100 of them, so I've only got 7 with me or so, but anybody else that wants, I can get them to them if they don't want to, or would like something more than the online version.
Mr. President?
Councilor Brown Martinez.
Yeah, well, we're announcements. I just want to, for those who are watching us too, and our colleagues here, to help share the word that there's going to be the backpack drive held at McNally Field on August 16th. This is something that Ed Casey puts together, that I know he's being awarded by one of the colleagues here who filed an order. I just want to let everyone know that it's a great event. A lot of community resources and information for these families who may be in the area.
It's not as hot as last year. Hope it's not as hot as it was last year.
Ed Casey is quite the man. Anything further? Councilor Valentin.
Thank you. I know we have have one meeting, maybe two, before what I'm going to announce, but just so folks can save the date if they're interested. September 20th marks the one-year anniversary of Hurricane Maria, and knowing the population that we have here in the city of Holyoke in terms of folks that were impacted and transferred over here or to areas close to Holyoke, we're going to be doing an event that is open to everyone. It's going to be at Veterans Park on Thursday, September 20th from 5 to 7 p.m. We're calling it Remembranzas, which basically means remembrance, and it's honoring both the Puerto Rican culture but also the resilience of the folks that were impacted by the hurricane. So it's going to be in Veterans Park from 5 to 7, a mix of spoken word, poetry, music. There's going to be a walkthrough of the Puerto Rican history that we're not taught in school, and other things as well as making of Vejigante masks and a number of different activities. So just want to invite everyone, and we're working on the flyers now, but just if folks want to save the date, Thursday, September 20th, 5 to 7, Veterans Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Tallman, birthday boy.
Just about 3 items real quickly. I just had a chance to, since that I'm retired from the Postal Service now, a little bit more time to take care of city business. I get a chance
Look,
to go,
you've given that retirement stuff a little bit too much credence here.
and I'm loving it. The ROCA program, I got a chance to go to the open house down here on Appleton Street, so anybody involved in that, it's a great program, and Councilor LeBron Martinez was there, I believe, also, and some other people. Also, I got a chance, Todd McGee was at, and I myself was at the West Side Finishing. Many of you got a letter from that to try to get down there. I had a great tour, about an hour and a half of the Chamber of Commerce puts on, Government Relations Committee puts on, inviting us to some of the local businesses to see what they actually need. The place is booming down there. Actually, they're looking at expanding. We don't want to lose them, but we're trying to see if we can find some property in Holyoke that they could expand to. But they're busting at the seams. They're doing a great job, and I hope that continues. And that program would be contacted again about another business probably within the next month to see. And the last thing is the Veterans Lunch Program of Holyoke, and good old Ward 4, Josie, St. Paul's Church. It's every Thursday from 12 to 1:30. I've had a friend I was in the service with back in the 70s that we've been going the last few weeks, and it's a great program for veterans and their spouses or significant others or family members to have a nice lunch. And Gina Nelson puts that on with a crew of volunteers every Thursday. Gina is the wife of Tim Nelson, who was a deputy chief here in Holyoke. So it's a great program. Anybody can contact me, any veterans. We're trying to build the program up and try to get as many people there, but it's every Thursday from 12 to 1:30 on 485 Appleton Street.
Just real quick, ROCA is looking for referrals. If Councilor Tallman keeps that flyer, it will explain the type of referrals they need, but young men and women who need some help, ROCA does a tremendous job, and they have a lot of assets that they use them very well. Councilor Sullivan and I, unfortunately Councilor McGee didn't join us, but we attended the Water Commissioners meeting earlier this month. And the reason we did it was because that letter that's coming in and the bonds that's going to be predicting, and to get an idea and to talk to them about the flavor of the what was going on. But and they did talk about that, but it's going to be much more discussed in the Finance Committee meeting. But they did discuss something that was very interesting. Mike and I heard a discussion with the mayor on the monies that are coming in from the conservation credits that we adopted or allowed them to go through earlier, and how the revenues are going to be shared. And they appear to have come to, we're going to see this down the road a little bit, to come to an agreement with the mayor on sharing some general fund revenues with the water department revenues also, on whatever benefits come from that project itself. And finally, I think we all know this is the 25th anniversary of the Holyoke Merry-Go-Round being in Heritage Park. Now, the Holyoke Merry-Go-Round was first opened in Mountain Park in 1929, and as most of us know the story, moved to Heritage Park back in 1993. Celebrating the 25th anniversary, the Merry-Go-Round Corporation invites everyone, including the public, on August 26th for a day of 25-cent rides, a number of activities geared towards families and children, some good hot dogs cooked by one of the favorite board of directors of the Merry-Go-Round, and it's the most fantastic hot dog you ever have, Nelson. once I put it in a bun for you. And please, keep that on your calendar if you can stop down for an hour or two. It's going to be quite the day. We've already had some 500 response as to people who are planning on coming down to join us. And at one point, we're going to have a celebration and a cake and dessert. Councilor Roman.
Yes, I just want to share, and I want to thank Councilor Tallman. Actually, it's extra special now that I know today's his birthday, but he gave me a gift. Next month, as you guys know, is the third annual Taste South Holyoke. I thank you guys all for coming and showing up every year. But this year, actually, the festival committee is honoring Brenda Lee Cepeda, who does a lot of bomba events throughout the city, the traditional Puerto Rican dancing and drumming. But this year's also the 25th anniversary of Roberto Clemente Street in Holyoke, dedicated by Mayor William. And our colleague, Councilor Tallman, today, is going to be in the Nueva Esperanza archives, gave me the actual dedication flyer by Mayor Sullivan. And so 25 years ago, on August 20th, 1993, the city dedicated Roberto Clemente Street down in South Holyoke. So now this is going to go now vis-a-vis Nueva Esperanza to the Wisteria hearse in our archives. And I just want to thank Councilor Tallman for giving me a gift on his birthday. I didn't know that, but thank you, and share that with you all.
You're welcome.
Well done. Anything further? Let's get back to business. If there's- Motion made second to suspend the rules to go to item 31C. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. 31C from the DGR Committee, to whom is referred an order that the Honorable City Council, in accordance with Mass General laws and the City of Hoyoke Court of Ordinances, vote to approve the order of taking for certain takings and free fee, permanent easements, and temporary easements, and thus acquire by right of eminent domain in consideration for just compensation unless previously waived, parcels identified as parcel number 1, number 2, and as PE-7B, PE-8, and as TE-2, TE-12, TE-20, TE-21 on a site plan titled Massachusetts Department of Transportation Highway Transportation Plan and Profile for the street of Dwight Street, Heritage Street, and Front Street in the city of Holyoke, Hampden County. Project number 607256 for the public purpose of the completion of the roadway improvement project at Dwight, Heritage, and Front Streets. This has been considered by DGR, and on a vote of 4-1, recommended for adoption. Councilor Bartley, Valentin, Tallman, and Roman.
Motion to receive and approve the committee report and to approve the order of taking for the aforementioned parcels.
Second.
Motion has been made and
Second.
seconded to adopt the committee report. Under discussion for a report, Councilor Bartley.
Mr. President, we had the OPED and director, department head, and his assistant before us, and they provided a package of materials showing the parcels. There are Heritage Street, Dwight Street, Front Street. Those are the main ones. Heritage Street, I think most of us that come downtown and realize that's the one with all the cobblestones in it. I think we've discerned over the course of time that there is no historic value to any of those cobblestones. They're really a thorn in everybody's side. The conditions of the roadway in Dwight and Front Street in those portions are woefully lacking, and this will allow the city to receive 1.6 million or 1.5 million. I don't have my notes. I buried it in my computer. 1.5 to 1.6 million dollars in a grant from Mass DOT that the city. It's a very competitive grant, and there is a time crunch on this. So whenever we take in eminent domain, we do so with the utmost consideration and deliberation. In this case, we had 23 parcels that were, and they're of various size. Most are pretty small. 9 of the 23 are temporary easements, which basically, according to defined by the verbiage in front of me, it means up to 3 years. 4 are permanent easements, and 1 is owned. The cost to the city is out of pocket is not large. It's about $100. So we did find out in the committee hearing that one of the parcels is subject to almost a swap, if you will, between the City of Holyoke and Pioneer Valley Railroad. Pioneer Valley Railroad has use of a parcel in city-owned, and they have a month-to-month tenancy at $1,000 a month, and the city is proposing here to take a parcel from the Pioneer Valley Railroad for $56,500. So what that means is that the Pioneer Valley Railroad would forego any income, but the Pioneer Valley Railroad would be able to use its site that it really is not using much anymore, not using these days, but potentially use the site with the $1,000 fee waived for the next 57 months. I hope that was clear, but maybe it wasn't, but we can answer any questions. This is a public hearing. We did not have any proponents per se, but we had one opponent who provided a copy of a deed. The same opponent came before us in public comment tonight, asked for an extension. The time crunch on this is really hard, Mr. President. I think the committee, if this was a different time of year, the committee probably could have heard the opponent's plea and gone ahead and tabled it and continued the public hearing to a date certain. But the OPED director advised us that we need to get this before Mass DOT by September 1st. The reason is they need 2-week lead time for advertising purposes. So with that in mind, unless we call the special meeting around August 28th, 29th, in that window, there really wasn't much room for continuing this. I would also say that this parcel in question is not an unknown parcel. The owner of the parcel has been before OPED on occasions. So I think that the last minute plea, while I had a lot of sympathy for it, as a bottom line, I didn't think the city could really forego the $1.6 million and the chance to really improve these 3 road beds with new sidewalks, new roadway, and forego the $1.6 million grant. Now, there's always a possibility that the city could be subject to suit, but in my mind, I just did the cost-benefit analysis quickly in my head, and if the city did lose possibly because somebody took property that was, the city took property that was valued at about $57,000, would that be offset by the $1.6 million the city's going to receive in a grant? I mean, there was just while it's not fair, potentially, but we did have the emphasis of the economic development director that the opponent, Mr. President, has no property interest. Now, the opponent says otherwise, but a tax title review of that parcel, as advised by our law department, as advised by the department head, a title review of that property showed no property interest in that parcel by the proponent. At this stage of the proceedings, Mr. President, I had to rely upon their assertion. I think bottom line is this is going to be a benefit for this downtown for the downtown area and for this area that needs some attention, especially now, Mr. President, as you know, with all the improvements at Lyman Terrace, with a potential, it could lead to potential development on Front Street near the first level canal. So there's some hope here that we can. That OPED is really starting to build out other areas of the downtown besides ones of which we're all aware. So with that, I'll conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bartley.
Mr. President?
Councilor Leahy?
Yeah, thank you. Councilor Bartley and his team did a great job tonight. Also, I want to applaud Marcos and his team for doing a wonderful job as well. And I do think this $1.6 million job is going to be a huge benefit to this area. My only concern, though, is the gentleman, is it Owen? Is that your last name, Mr. Owen? Owing. He did come, and he does claim that he owns this property, or a property, in fee simple, and his attorney had passed away, and he said that he wasn't notified by this because the city, doesn't recognize him as being an owner, so he just found out about this meeting. So I don't think you were coming down at the last minute. I think you just had found out about it. So he did say if we gave him 10 days, his new attorney could look up the deed and prove that it is his. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because I don't know. As Marco said, I don't have a dog in this race. I just want the 100. I suppose I do, because I do want the $1.6 million to better the city of Holyoke. And I believe if we give the 10 days, and this doesn't turn out the way you see it, we can do it the way the city sees it. So I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. So I'm going to be voting against this and hoping that the mayor or the president of the city council calls a special meeting. Thank you.
Councilor Valentine.
Thank you. A couple of things. One is that we actually spent most of our DGR meeting discussing this very item, so it was discussed quite at length. And one of the pieces of information that I think is important for folks who were not here is that the newest member of our law department actually spoke about the research and due diligence that our law department has done regarding this. And the paper trail that basically supports the fact that we should be moving forward with this. For a very short summary, I will be voting in favor of this tonight. There's a huge concern that if this is delayed by something that at this moment is not proven by any type of documentation that is being presented to us, the concern is that if there's a special meeting, this is an item that would require a supermajority, and so if folks are not here for that special meeting, we may not have that number. That becomes a whole other issue. Marcos also spoke at length about how there has been an ongoing relationship with Mr. Owen from the Office for Planning and Economic Development. This is something that's been discussed before. This is not new. And every time that there's been different conversations, again, the documentation, as Marco said, and he's here if people have specific questions for him, the documentation right now does not show that we should be looking at or let me not phrase it that way. The documentation right now does not show what Mr. Owen is stating. And so, again, we have our different city departments doing their due diligence, legal, planning and economic development, all trying to put all the ducks in a row, trying to get this very significant amount of money. And I'm very concerned about delaying this process and risking a special meeting being called, a supermajority not being present, and all of these things falling through the side. So I encourage us to trust our city departments tonight and assume that they are doing the due diligence and that we vote in favor of this to move it forward. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Sullivan.
Yes, thank you. Besides Mr. Owen's concern, I've got a concern. Pioneer Valley Rail, for those that aren't aware, we're all familiar with seeing the nice train at Christmas come in. Pioneer Valley Rail is owned by Pinsley Railroads out of Florida. And on several other occasions, they've claimed ownership of properties in Holyoke, which turned out not to be true. There's a huge difference between having an easement over a piece of property and actually having ownership of the property. We're agreeing in this. Right now, we collect $1,000. What is it? $1,000 a month from Pinsley Railroad for another piece of property in Holyoke. We're agreeing to forego those payments. So we'll be also giving up $57,000 on some revenue, which here we have some assurances there is a deed, but I'd like to hold this off Something as important as $1.6 million, I would hope that the council members would make every effort to be here so that we do have a majority and not be rushed into this decision.
Mr. President?
Councilor Valentine?
Through the chair, if I may. Since Councilor Sullivan had talked about the concern about the title examination for the Pioneer Valley Railroad, since then we've received an email from Marcos and John Dijak, basically sharing with us the certified title examination for parcel A, which is the one owned by Pioneer Valley Railroad. So that is in our email now. I know that was one of the concerns that Councilor Sullivan had presented at our committee meeting. So we do have that document as DGR committee members, and it's dated May 10th, 2018, from an attorney at law's office contacting our economic development department. So we do have proof of that.
Council President?
Thank you. I'm not going to vote in favor of this only for a couple reasons. One, the gentleman that claims he owns this property ran a recycling business there for years. Taxes have been paid on that building, and from my understanding, they're paid up to this date. We have a couple businesses behind that building that are, so this is not just, let's just, snatch and grab here. We have a gentleman who's saying, can I have 10 days to prove my claim? I don't think that 10 days is destroy anything. I mean, how bad will it be on day 11 where we get, set with a lawsuit that we have our law department defending? Actually, we'll probably have to send that out to have someone represent us on something of this nature if it is an issue. I mean, if he's asking for 10 days, he came before us, and I watched the meeting downstairs in the AV room, but he's saying his attorney died. I don't know who his attorney was before. I can't imagine that someone would come from the council and say, hey, my attorney was working on it, he died, I have a new attorney, I'm looking for 10 days. In his exact words, maybe even less than 10 days, he's asking from us. And I think it was ABC Recycling or whatever the name of the company was. I mean, when I worked for the city, that was a business that he was paying taxes on. The building that he owns is still being taxes on. So in other words, we can't give a courtesy to a business owner and a property owner of 10 days. I'm not going to vote for it for that reason. Adjacent to that building is a vacant building that's been falling down nothing's been done with. And, nobody wants to say anything about, and, the neighboring community that's going on. I understand that the Holyoke Housing Authority has redeveloped that neighborhood, and nobody else wants a pathway and a brighter Holyoke. I'd like to see Heritage Park Drive fixed, but, I mean, we'll take what we can get. I understand that. But for a guy that owns a business who's on a piece of parcel that his property taxes are paid up to, he's asking for 10 days or less than 10 days. I don't have an issue with it. So if everyone votes for it, that's fine, but I'm just not going to vote for it for that simple reason, is that the guy that owns the land or that owns the property that's adjacent to that land directly in front of his building, which will remove his parking spaces, is saying, hey, I need 10 days. Throw me 2 weeks. If it doesn't happen on day 11, I will absolutely not vote. I will vote in favor of this on day 11 or day 10 at midnight.
Councilor Bacon?
Thank you, Mr. President. During the public hearing, I asked the question of the committee that if they had a concern about the status of the property owner, because there is no question that he owns the property that he showed the deed of, I believe, that I asked them not to move forward with it. The committee did vote it out 4-1, but there was at least one member of the committee also who felt that the property owner should have the opportunity to have his attorney look it over, have a finding, and have his business concerns addressed. Now, we're trading off parking for one person and another person. I don't know the implications of all the easements or right-of-way and things like that, but I didn't see where it was stipulated that those concerns would be addressed. And if he has no standing and he can't prove it, fine. But on the other hand, if he has a deed to the property, I just haven't seen us as a body before presume somebody doesn't have an interest if they own property. So I find myself sympathetic. I want to improve the area down there. I want to us to be able to access the grant. However, I wouldn't step on his rights to achieve that, and I think as a body, we can show up in 10 or 12 days, whatever it is we need to do to address it and allow for due process. I don't like it when our process are run by a clock, when in any other instance, if we weren't running up against a hard deadline, we would have continued the hearing for him to have the opportunity to come in. That's just my perception. Thank you.
Counselor Bartley.
As I said in committee meeting, as I said earlier, I don't have a dog in this fight. I think that I'll just let me clarify something. He certainly, the opponent certainly owns the property. There's no question he has a property deed. The question is, does that property deed have any rights relative to this parcel A? And our law department, our planning department is saying no. However, I am more than happy to come back here. And I said on the microphone, I mean, the only date I really have available are the 27th and 28th of August. So if the president wants to do a poll of this body, I know Councilor Valentine said she's not available on the 28th. The other committee members were available on the 28th. I suggested we could continue the public hearing to that night on the 28th and have a special meeting thereafter. So I have that wasn't repeated tonight in this body, but I did say that on the microphone as everybody's watching it. I said I'd be happy to do that, but we didn't vote that way. So I'll make the offer again. If we want to come back on the 28th, if you want to take a poll, Mr. President, and we can have a special meeting, everybody wants to commit to that date, because right now, looking around the room, I don't think there are 9 votes here for this. So I think we need 9 votes. So I would say that, I'll make a motion that, raise your hand if you're available on the 28th, and we can have, that will give him 3 weeks. So I'll leave it at that. I just don't see the votes here to pass this tonight, Mr. President. So, and like I said, I'd rather get the answer myself. I said on the microphone, that wasn't repeated tonight. I said on the microphone that I'd be happy to come back on 28th. I'm happy to. So I'd rather get the answer. I'd rather give him time and get the answer.
10 days is today's the 7th. What about the 20th?
I can tell you I'm not available that
I won't
day.
be here the 20th.
So you're
Won't
going
be
to
here.
give him 3 weeks?
I won't be here.
He said 10 days. It's the 17th. So how about
the only day I had was the 28th. But that's me. But that's, you only need 9, so.
Mr. President,
Counselor
just had a question. I understand your thoughts, and it seems the votes are here, but didn't we close the public hearing, though? And so we can't take any more comment, or didn't we close the public hearing tonight?
We did.
So no matter what, we can't take any more comment in, or can we?
We did close the public hearing, there's no doubt about it, but I'm thinking if we push it out 3 weeks, we could probably advertise for another public hearing for the 28th. So they could, there's 3 weeks out, that gives them enough time. I would defer to the administrative assistant on that, but I believe 3 weeks is ample time to have another public hearing. So I don't know if the president wants to allow the administrative assistant to speak, but I think 3 weeks is enough time to have another public hearing. So you'd have to advertise another public hearing.
Like within a day or two, you'd have to public,
You'd probably have to get it in tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
But,
Well,
like I said,
my concern is not that, and I think in this discussion we had, and I understand, my colleagues' concerns, but we had the law department, we did ask that question. I'm not an attorney, so I don't know all the thoughts of this, but to lose the funding of this project that's been worked on for a couple of years, but if people have reservations, that's it. I have to accept that. That's okay. But we sat here and we discussed this for an hour, and we went over everything. And Marcos is here, our attorneys are here, if we need to ask more questions. But I just hate to see this program just die out on us. Because I have a feeling at the end of the month that there's going to be some people missing, and we're not going to have the votes to even take this up. So that's my main concern. But whatever it is, it's a vote. I just wish some of my colleagues that are voting against doing this tonight, I understand their reservations, they would consider this again, because this is an important project that I think would enhance the the community, the city of Holyoke, especially downtown. And if we lose this, well, it's not coming back, I don't think, so.
Yeah.
Counselor Sullivan?
Question for the president. Could we approve this pending confirmation of ownership through the law department?
And, yeah, that sounds good.
The law department has basically shown us that.
I think the answer is the law department has taken their position already. The public hearing is closed. I'm not confident we can open another public hearing. The cost of the public hearing this evening was, our administrative assistant just told me, was close to $800, and that's out of the taxpayers' dollars. So Councilor Sullivan, I'm not sure if we can take a vote pending, because it's not clear how we would word it, you know, in terms of what the law department would rule, seeing they already ruled on the question. And I'm not sure how we can get additional testimony in because the public hearing was closed. Even reopening it, I think, is going to be costly to make sure everybody that was notified of tonight's meeting, everybody was here tonight, you know, was aware that the public hearing, if possible, is being reopened. Councilor Bacon?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a question, a point of information. If this matter is tabled in chambers because a business owner affected by the actions of the council has a legal complaint about it, I don't see where it would be necessary for there to be a public hearing. If his attorney reviews the paperwork and finds the basis for a legal complaint, he will file a legal complaint. We will take it off the table and decide if it's worth it or not at that point. But I don't see what that has to do with a public hearing. There's not going to be any new information coming forth. We have all the information. There's a disagreement about what the information means. So to me, I don't see what that has to do with needing to advertise and reopen a public hearing. If this business owner has a legal complaint, his attorney will file it. If we table this, lay it on the table, give him his time to let his attorney look it over, and he'll either file a complaint or he will not, and we can take it off the table and deal with it. That's, to me, I don't see a public hearing issue here. What new information would there be? It's just a debate over what the information says. It's not new information.
Councilor Lisi?
Thank you. So at the end of the day, if there is conflicting information, because at this point we don't have conflicting information. We have information from the law department alone that says that the city has access to that property. If there is conflicting information, then I'm afraid that it would really have to be resolved somehow, possibly through litigation, in order to then decide and decipher who actually owns and has access to that property. So I don't think that that's going to actually solve the problem. I think that if Mr. Owens finds, that his attorney says that he owns the property, then there's going to be litigation either way. I don't think that we're saving the city from litigation either way. I'll tell you right now, I planned my entire family vacation around this meeting tonight. I'm not going to be available for another midsummer night meeting somewhere along the way. So, again, I think that we have information before us. What I'd like to also understand is this question about 2/3 of the body or 2/3 of the members present are going to be required to pass the vote tonight.
It's of the body, always.
But that's on financial transfers, and this is something different.
It's of the body.
It's of the body?
Yeah. Crystal heard me, but it is of the body. 2/3 of the body, Crystal? 2/3 of the body, Crystal. Unless you give it to me in writing right now. Okay. Councilor Barley.
Well, Mr. President, I would just go back to my suggestion. I know there's two councilors that can't meet on the 28th, but Counselor Roman, though he's not here, he assured me in subcommittee that he is available on the 28th. I'm gonna go on a limb, say the council president will be back from vacation by then, and that he'll be available on the 28th. So we would have 11 counselors here. Potentially, if they commit to it right now, then why not give them the time to table it to the 28th? I mean, I have no problem at all with doing that. Can counselors commit with, you say yes or no now? Okay. Counselor? Well, okay.
I mean, you know, I find
that's okay. We
it's
have 10
bizarre
now,
that, I mean, you take this matter up before a city council meeting, so no, you know, even if you were watching on television or down here, we're at the meeting, you don't even have an hour to digest any of this information. I know we got emails before, but now all of a sudden, the day of the meeting, we have the guy disputing this. So he could file an injunction in day 9 saying and pay an attorney whatever amounts of money he wants to do to file an injunction to stop this. And then we have litigation, as Councilor Lisi has pointed out. I mean, let's go the 17th. Give him 10 days. Today's the 7th. I'll be here on Friday the 18th. Whatever you want to do.
Motion to suspend the necessary rules and allow legal to approach and speak.
Second.
Second.
Aye.
So first addressing the question of the vote, eminent domain taking, as the council's aware, is done pursuant
I
to...
can't hear
Get
you.
closer to the mic. We can't hear you.
Done?
It's on, but
Yeah.
get closer.
You might want to take
you
it
gotta speak
off
up.
so that you can look at what you're doing. Take it off and
How's
hold
this
it.
work?
Yeah.
This is nice. I got a little bit of... This is good.
Stand
How's
up.
everybody doing tonight? Good crowd. Okay. So MGL Chapter 40, Section 14 is the statutory authority by which the city can take a parcel for eminent domain. There's case law, and what I have here is, for the attorneys in the room, you may be familiar with LexisNexis, but essentially it's what makes attorneys look smart. So you pull up the statute, and it gives you all the case notes and all the answers. So there's a case called Ellison, and it's something that we looked at for a property acquisition a little bit earlier in the year, where we were counting some votes, and that case stands for the proposition that 2/3 of the council is 2/3 of a quorum. The council acts when it has a quorum, and that Ellison case says that if you're going to do a vote of the membership, you have to actually spell that out. So there's an example, I think, in that case of a vote, a statute that says of all members present or of the city council membership. So I can provide a copy of that by email this evening, but I believe it's 2/3. I also just want to speak briefly to what the law department has looked at. Attorney Tasha Marshall has copies of the title examination for both Mr. Owens' property at 120 Front Street, as well as the Pioneer Valley Railroad parcel that's subject to the taking acquisition. If I understand correctly, the property owner is stating that he has an interest or a right-of-way interest in the railroad parcel. So even assuming that to be true, the city would be acquiring subject to any encumbrance, and our title examination shows there's a number of encumbrances in that property. So it would be subject to that, and the city wouldn't be incurring any liability or any potential for damages until it actually would be laying out the street. So I just wanted to clarify. I think there was some confusion about whether or not we're talking about two parcels here. One is Mr. Owens' parcel, 120 Front Street, and the second is the Pioneer Valley Railroad parcel. So we're looking to acquire whatever interest the Pioneer Valley Railroad says they have in that parcel. They're representing to us through a title examination, a certified title examination, that they have all interest to convey. So in the law department's opinion, that is, there's no liability that's going to be incurred by executing that. I like holding the, this is nice.
Tell us a joke, will you?
I don't have any good ones.
Councilor Reagan?
Thank you. I have a question for legal.
Legal.
Yeah,
So the part that's creating the confusion is that I think the discussion of the trade with the railroad and relative to the parking and what the impact relative to the right-of-way would be with the trade-off and the impact down there. That's kind of what I'm getting. I mean, unless you're saying that the issue is the right-of-way and there's absolutely no way the right-of-way will be affected by what you're doing. I mean, I guess what is confusing is I don't hear anybody disagreeing about what the legal paperwork says. What I hear people disagreeing about is what the ramifications of the deal are and what the effect is going to be on the businesses down there. And I think that's the part that's getting confusing, because you're throwing in trading this and that and money and parking. And it sounds like there's all these things that are going to happen that are going to affect the layout down there. So I guess it's confusing in the way that it's being discussed, because it's hard to get to the bottom line, the practical reality of what is going to be the impact on the people.
So if I understand it's a bit confusing, and Marcos and Attorney Marshall can maybe speak to some of the clarifications or interject if I have this incorrect, because they've been focusing on this project. But
I can hardly hear him. I don't think it's on.
Everybody says I'm really
now
loud.
It's on.
Oh, it's on.
Yeah,
That's better.
it's the allergies. So I understand it's a bit confusing, and Marcos, it's simple to say that there's the 120 Front Street parcel. There's an allegation that the abutting parcel currently owned by Pioneer Valley Railroad, that there's some interest that 120 Front Street has in the Pioneer Valley Railroad parcel. So is that following so far?
I get it that there's an interest. What I'm trying to understand is, what is the bottom line? What is the problem?
We don't, on our title examination, we don't have any reference to that interest. There's an allegation that there is some interest in the railroad property, but we don't have anything on the title examination that says that we do. If we acquired the property, we would acquire it subject to any encumbrance, but that wouldn't prevent the acquisition.
Well, let me ask this in another way then. If this goes through the way that you have proposed it, and everybody's agreed that the paperwork says what it says, it's all been laid out on the table, as a practical matter, is anybody's ability to access, park, do their business, whatever it is you need to do to get through the day, going to be restricted, changed, diminished, or lessened? I guess that's the question.
Do we have title insurance? So even if we were wrong, we wouldn't be wrong, the title company would be wrong, right?
Correct. Yes. So, again, Tasha Marshall, Associate City Solicitor. And I just want to make sure I understand your question correctly. So are you asking not what the legal document says, but once this road is built, what will be the impact of that? Is that your question?
My question is, based on the documents that you have reviewed and have this understanding of, is the other property owner who is objecting going to in any way be limited based on your reviews of the documents and what they say and what they mean in comparison to today? What can be accessed, what can be done, what can be used, etc. Is that going to change? Because what I'm hearing is the concern of the owner is that his use, access, rights, something is going to be lost if we approve this. And I'm trying to understand, I want to cut through the legalese. I mean, I get what it means, so I just want to understand the practical effect.
And the short answer to that is no. So my understanding of what's going on right now is that Mr. Owens parks on the railroad's property right now. He uses that, and because no one else is down there, he uses that pretty much for himself. So once the railroad essentially sells the land, or once the city acquires ownership of this land, that parcel of land is going to become part of the street, is going to become a right-of-way. So it's going to become the street. So if anyone else wants to drive down that street and park their car there, it will be public parking. Anyone can park there. So my understanding is that Mr. Owens is concerned that he's going to lose the exclusivity to be able to park there or tell other members of the public that they cannot park there. So what the law department has done has looked into the legal issues to find out, does Mr. Owens have the legal right to say no one else can park here? No one else from the public can park here. I've been parking here for X amount of years. I deserve for this parcel of land to remain exclusive to me. And it's our opinion that he does not have the right to say that, not by adverse possession, because this was a railroad parcel, and railroad is quasi-governmental property, and you can't acquire government land by adverse possession, nor can he acquire the land by easement, by prescription, or anything of the sort. So essentially what everything is coming down to is, will other members of the public be able to park, once the street is built, will other members of the public be able to park where Mr. Owens parks right now?
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Yes, yes.
Getting very hot up here.
I'll put it back on after a few minutes, as long as we don't have to use that big microphone any longer. So I just want to say, I think that
Hang on, I have the floor, please.
he did say, Councilor Lisi.
He's a council seller.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He wants to put the AC back on.
Don't get too hot, Mike. I'll put that AC on in a second.
Well,
And you'll get called. Counselor Sullivan.
yep. Paul, could you come back to the microphone? All right. I've heard assurances through councils for the railroad and all this. Have we seen proof positive of a deed? Have we seen it ourselves or just heard from people? Have we seen it?
Yes, we have.
Okay, that's it, simply it. We've seen it. All right. You said now, as far as the vote goes, if we have 9 people here, we have a quorum, and it would only take 6 people to get this through. That's 2/3 of 9.
The 10 councilors are present. 11. Sorry, Joe.
All right, so we need,
Whoa.
all right.
You asking me a question?
I think, if I may. So, but if we have a meeting on the 17th, and
Or
there's...
the 28th.
Or the 20th or the 28th, you pick a date. The legal department for the city of Hoyoke is telling us that the 2/3 vote on these types of matters, not just this matter, but any matters relating to this nature, it is the majority, the 2/3 of the quorum, not the fact that there's 13 city councilors. If there's 9 of us here, 6 of us need to vote on matters of this nature to get it approved. That's the legal.
Of the quorum.
Okay. On any matters related to, that is required of 2/3. It's the quorum, not the body.
Correct.
Okay. No, that makes it
Okay.
easier. I'm happy.
Hang on. 2/3. The 2/3 of the vote is 2/3 of the entire body. Okay? Does anybody want to challenge that?
I think the law
department wants to.
Law department doesn't have a vote. We have a vote. And I'll please refer everyone to Rule 66. All votes of the council or any of its committees requiring a 2/3 or more supermajority shall require that same supermajority of the entire membership. It's our rules. It's always been our rules. It makes sense, Paul, that Council President, stole my argument. Majority to open up a meeting is a simple majority, 9 out of 13. Then you say only 2/3 of 9 can take something by eminent domain? That is no representation of people who live in this city. And I don't care what case law is out there, our rules supersede it. Anything else?
I had my...
Councilor Lisi.
Now we traveled down this whole road. Oh, the other thing I wanted to point out was, I believe, I don't remember fully, but I do believe that Mr. Owens has been here in the past for no parking signs because of loading zone. So I think that in the case that we do create a public way out of what is now some sort of exclusive right-of-way, and it becomes some sort of encumbrance onto the property owner, then we can use our ordinances to create parking signage and to address whatever problems come up. I don't see any problems that could possibly come out being insurmountable. And in fact, I think that at this point in time, the burden of proof lies on Mr. Owen to demonstrate that there is an actual ownership as opposed to a right-of-way here. Again, I don't see any of the problems that have been listed this evening as being insurmountable. I think we could work with them all, and I think we should move forward and encounter the problems as we actually encounter them. Right now, it's all speculation.
On the motion.
Any further discussion? Right now, Councilor Bacon.
I just want to note that I appreciate the clear answer that our newest legal member and associate provided tonight, because what we're trying to do here when we're making decisions is to understand what the real impact will be, to support all the businesses in the city, not pick and choose and, somebody gets the short straw and somebody else gets everything passed in a night, to try to be fair. Having said that, I think we're a little bit in a situation in this discussion that we were in with Eddie's Furniture, that people got used to being able to do something, and so it kind of became, it's the way it should be. And I have to say, given the information that we've been provided with tonight, I do think the documents are clear on the ownership in that. I think the debate and the discussion is over the use. And I do believe that amongst us, we have counselors that will try to make the parking or road issues amenable to the people that are down there, because our goal is to make it better for everybody down there, not worse. So having gotten a straight answer to a straight question, which I always appreciate, I would find myself supporting this tonight. And I also want to say that I will certainly be open relative to whatever actions we can take in committee to facilitate smooth transition as this project possibly goes forward. Thank you.
Any further discussion? The motion on the floor is to adopt the taking of the properties, the orders as written, both by eminent domain and by just compensation. If there's no further discussion, the clerk is going to call the roll. If you vote yes, you are voting in favor of the committee report. If you vote no, you are voting against. A 2/3 majority of the entire body is required.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentin,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan,
Nope.
Leahy.
No.
9 yeas, 2 nays.
By your vote, you've adopted the committee report and the taking of property by eminent domain.
That was 2 nays.
Two, yeah. Said two, yeah.
We are now on the Committee of Finance reports. Item 28A.
All right, let's see where we are.
Moves for an order that the City Council of Hoyoke consider the open checkbook software and refer to the mayor, his chief of staff, and the IT department. Communication as the recommendation by the Hoyoke City Council is that the order was complied with and that we would forward this to the mayor for a recommendation to see if he can find it a way to pay for it and put it back in front
I
of
might have
us.
an old agenda, Joe, but I have 28C for that.
Is the meeting adjourned, or is there,
Actually, if you look,
We don't have a, we
we
do?
don't have a quorum? I'm leaving.
We no longer have a quorum.
Mr. President, we have a quorum,
there's
so.
9 people here.
I'm leaving.
Yeah, we have a quorum. Where are we?
Oh, no,
9 people here.
well, there's 9 people in the council chambers now.
So
Councilor
we only
Leahy,
need 6 to prove it.
I'll stand half corrected because the agenda we got in the mail, 28A is what I just read. And I'll use the agenda we got this evening. I don't know why it switched.
All right,
But
so.
The Committee on Finance determines for an order in accordance with Mass General Laws 44, Section 53A. The City Council hereby accepts the provisions of the Hoyoke Tourism Plan Grant, authorizes the establishment of a fund and or other method appropriate for the accounting of the receipts and expenditures of all resources associated with the administration of said grant. Recommended for adoption by Councilor McGivern, Leahy, Tallman, and Sullivan.
And make a motion to receive and adopt.
Motion made second to receive and adopt. We do traditionally pass the
first
reading.
In first
Councilor Leahy
reading.
will be given the committee report.
Pass the first reading.
Second.
All right, yes, thank you. So last night, we had a wonderful finance subcommittee meeting, and we had 3 things on the agenda, and 2 of them are very similar, where we have to authorize to establish to make a fund for the, general purpose of accounting of the receipts, expenditures. This is basically what this one comes down to is because Holyoke is receiving money from the Massachusetts Gaming, which we're lucky enough to be getting because we're the only city or town that's receiving money that's not adjacent to the land, we have to establish a fund for that. And this will also benefit many different groups, such as the Children's Museum, the Volleyball Hall of Fame, Merry-Go-Round, because this is a Holyoke tourism plan that those monies will be used for.
Is there any further discussion? Clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you'll vote in favor of accepting the grant and mechanism needed to appropriate and administrate the grant. If you vote no, you're voting against it.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lacy,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentin,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan,
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
Unanimous.
By your vote, you've adopted the committee report and accepted the Holyoke Tourism Grant. Item 28B, Committee on Finance has received an order that in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A, the City Council hereby accepts the provisions of the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Grant and authorizes the establishment of a fund and/or method appropriate for the accounting of the receipts and expenditures. Recommend for adoption, Councilor McGivern, Leahy, Tallman, and Sullivan.
Make a motion to receive and adopt and pass the first reading.
Motion made second to receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, thank you. Once again, we had a joint opportunity with with Marcos and also the Conservation Commissioner as well coming down, and we received, they applied for 2 different grants. One of them was for a boiler for the War Memorial, and that got turned down, and they were going to utilize that for a cooling center. However, the one that did get approved was Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Grant, which is, as you guys remember, September 20th of 2017, Hurricane Maria really did some awful, terrible things to Puerto Rico. And what we have to do is we have to be prepared, God forbid that happens again, and I hope it doesn't happen again, but God forbid something similar to that does happen again, and we have over 2,000 people coming into our general area. A lot of the people didn't have time to grab licenses or passports, or we have hundreds of students that came here essentially without any sort of paperwork to let us know where they stood with reading levels, grade levels, and so we have to do a better job. And we got a grant from both Polito and also our governor, and our governor was quoted in the paper saying that he wants to study to come up with a conservation plan because of what's happening with our, pretty much climate change and the impacts of climate change, and we have to have a better preparedness for this. Thank you.
The amount, just to add, the amount of the grant is $150,000. There is a match with this. However, Andrew, Conservation Commission Director, told us that that will be done in kind, which is about 1/3, close to $50,000, in kind being salaries of the people who will be working on the grant itself. Is there any further discussion? Motion on the floor, Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, Mr. President, I just going back to 28A, I think there was an in-kind match on that one. We didn't announce it, Mr. President.
I'm sorry, there was no match on, it was just, it's $100,000
But
with
I
no
think
match.
I thought there was an in-kind match that they suggested. Since we didn't bring it up until for 16,000, wasn't it the?
Right.
Didn't we get
Planning,
that last
yes.
time, Mr. President? I just to be fair, you didn't announce that from the chair, so there was an in-kind match.
Yeah.
On 28A?
Yes, Mr.
On the
President.
tourism?
Yes.
Was
Yeah,
that to
unfortunately,
it?
It was with the planning department, I believe, yeah.
Yes, it was in 16,000.
It wasn't mandatory,
Mr.
but it was something that they said they could do.
It's not mandatory.
Right.
Correct. But in the application, the planning department did say they were going to do so much.
I didn't mean to confuse you,
But,
Mr. President.
no, you're correct. I don't see that as a and it's just semantics, Councilor Bartley. It's not a mandatory, however, it was part of the application, which I think got the $100,000 for the city. And it's pretty much because we are part of the communities that have an agreement with MGM. We pretty much are, I don't want to say guaranteed, but we're pretty much tied into this grant regardless.
Right.
But the amount is $100,000, and the planning department did agree to do certain things. Thank you. Councilor Leahy, anything more? If there's no further discussion, the clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting in favor of accepting the grant. If you vote no, you're voting to deny.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentin,
Yes.
Anderson, Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan,
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
Unanimous.
By your vote, you've adopted and accepted the $100,000 grant. Item 28C, Committee on Finance to move further an order that the City of Hoyle consider the open checkbook software, refer this to the mayor, his chief of staff, and the IT department, and communicate it as a recommendation to the city council. Have considered the same, recommend that the order was complied with, and that the order would be forwarded to the mayor for his consideration.
Make a
Councilor McGivern, Leahy, Tallman, and Sullivan. Councilor Leahy for a report.
Make a motion to receive and adopt and pass first reading and send to the mayor.
Motion made, second, to receive and adopt.
Second.
Okay. Yeah, so this is an order that Councilor Bartley had filed, which I think is a good order. What this basically is, it's on the city's website. You would have an actual checkbook. You would have the receipts. So you can go in and you can find out which department you're looking at. If you wanted to put, the Department of Public Works, then every check that they had written to any different vendor would show up during a specific time frame. A couple of cities use it, Chicopee, West Springfield. I looked at the Chicopee one. It was very easy to use, very user-friendly. I also did look up, Chicopee did pay and will pay a yearly fee for it. It's between $15,000 and $20,000 a year. It's very transparent, so you know exactly who's getting paid. And I will turn it over to Councilor Bartley.
Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, I think really thank the committee for taking up the order. I think Councilor Leahy found out last night that the city of Chicopee received a grant for that as well, so that was something we're hopeful we can find a grant. I would really encourage councilors to go on to Open Checkbook Chicopee or Open Checkbook West Springfield so you can see for yourselves. This was brought to me by a constituent during one of my meetings, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the committee moving forward. And the committee's recommendation to forward it to the mayor as well is helpful. I want to thank our auditor, acting auditor, for coming by last night, providing some input on it. And I'm hopeful that with this recommendation to the mayor, we can get some feedback from his department as to the efficacy of it, and possibly have a tool for the public to use to find out what's being spent. So, I mean, seeing is believing. Just, check out Open Checkbook Chicopee, and I think you'll kind of like it, and you probably get warm to it, and maybe we'll encourage the mayor to sign up.
Lastly, I did bring up the fact that it does have some nice graphs and whatnot, and you can certainly look exactly where you're spending the money in different percentages, and as a numbers guy, I like that, but Bellamy also indicated that the program that he looked at, because we certainly don't want duplication of services, could hook up right up to Munis, and the Munis numbers that people are putting in once will get kicked over to that. And I can't say it verbatim, but I think he said something to the fact that there's so many different other graphs that he saw that he kind of geeked out to it, which as a guy who likes numbers, I can appreciate that. Thank you.
Just wanted to add that after the very healthy discussion last night, and I thank Councilor Bartley for bringing it to our attention, I did go home and told Jenny that I was hoping that we could establish an open checkbook McGivern the way we do business. Oh, am I in trouble if she's awake? Any other discussion? If not, motion on the floor is to adopt the committee report, which is the order was complied with, but to forward it to the mayor for future recommendations from the mayor on the possibility of appropriating monies to fund it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. The only other committee report is actually remained in committee, but just because it's on the agenda, which would have been 31B, the committee report itself, the DGR committee earlier this evening kept that tabled, if I'm correct.
Yes.
So moving on to what we call the incoming portion of this agenda, motions, orders, and resolutions. Item 34, introduced by Councilor Sullivan.
And just a gentle reminder, we're just going to send these to committee, right?
What's that?
We're just sending these to committee, so we're going to limit discussion.
Please,
Yeah.
whenever possible. If there's something that's going to be voted on tonight, then we'll discuss it. But if we can get it in committee without too much discussion, that would be great.
Can we do any packages?
There are a number of things we could. I can't do that because I'm up here,
Let the
but
makers do it.
Item Sullivan, Councilor Sullivan's order here is a request for Community Preservation Fund schedule. It looks like you want to do it by ordinance, so this will go to Committee on Ordinance.
Yep.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 35 is Councilor Tallman and LeBron Martinez. This is also an ordinance request for no parking on the west side of Maple Street. Motion received before the Committee on Ordinance. All those in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 35, item 36, introduced by Councilor Tallman and Councilor Bacon. The pool pumps not be operated between the hours of 10 a.m. and 6 a.m.
Send it to ordinance, please.
Motion made second, received for the Committee on Ordinance. All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Item 37, introduced by Councilor Bacon. Any and all debit cards be destroyed and the accounts that fund them closed. The bank statements requested months ago have not been provided.
Receive, adopt.
Receive, adopt, and refer to,
Councilor Beacon.
All right.
I don't know who has the
Probably
debit
treasurer.
cards. I think legal
Legal
has them.
department.
Leg-
Yeah.
I think legal has the cards.
Law department or?
Receive, adopt,
Or-
refer to legal.
Yeah.
receive, adopt, refer to the legal department, and copies to any appropriate department heads. Any discussion?
No, I just,
Yeah.
it's just that if the accounts were used for multiple purposes, then I would just simply say that it not be used. I don't know if they were paid out of like a general bank account, so I wouldn't stipulate that an
Maybe send it to
entire
finance
account
and
be
have them come in.
closed and reopened, but I just want the cards eliminated, so they're not being used.
Why don't you send a copy to finance as well, then?
Sure.
Yeah.
And a copy to finance,
Copy to
please.
finance.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 38, introduced by Councilor Bacon, that the City Council receive an update on the Essex demolition lawsuit. Also that the CC be updated to regarding the status of the bond and payment for the $10,000 wire and error to the Gmail account by the treasurer. Is the bond written in the manner that it will cover the payment and restore funds?
Receive, adopt, refer to legal, and request a report within 30 days.
Copy to finance.
Receive
Back
it.
to the council and a copy to finance.
Receive, adopt, refer to legal, request a report back within 30 days with a copy to the Finance Committee. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
39 through 41 as a package?
Second.
Motion made second to suspend the rules to take 39, 40, 41 as a packet. These are ordinance requests, truck restrictions on Southampton Road 88. Ordered that the amendment of section 4218 permit fee schedule be coincided with the fire department fee schedule and the handicap parking at 261 Elm Street. Motion received for the Committee on Ordinance.
Aye.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
41 with a copy to disabilities, please.
41 with a, thank you. 41 with a copy to the Disabilities Commission. Item 42, introduced by Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Mr. Sub-President,
Councilor Anderson, Burgos.
I would like to take 42 and 43 as a package. And also, the correction needs to be made. It is actually West Franklin and...
43.
Oh, yeah, 42 and 43, but there is a correction on 43 that needs to be made.
Yep.
It's West Franklin and Linden, not Lincoln.
Linden Street.
Okay. Motion to first amend item 43, which is, should be read West Franklin and Linden,
Second.
and then to take as a package if there's no objections. And the motion would be
To send to public safety?
receive, refer to Committee on Public Safety with a copy to, the study would be done by our engineer,
Engineer, yeah.
new engineer.
Engineer.
Okay? Any discussion?
No.
Okay, thank you. On that motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? So moved.
I'd like to also package 44 and 45.
Motion to suspend the rules for 44 and 45 together. All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Yep. So 45, it's a constituent that actually resides in at 156 Nunnatuck Street. She's been dealing with like flooding issues for many years, even when Mayor Sullivan was in office. And she sent me pictures. It's horrifying. Like her whole, it backs up, the water backs up, and in the winter it turns all into ice, and it's destroying her house, and it's dangerous because her kids can't play outside because they slip. It's just, it needs to be looked at, and she's requesting a drain, some type of drain system to be put in at the end of Nunnatuck Street.
So send 44 and 45 to DPW.
Yeah,
Motion made
receive
second
without
to
refer.
receive 44, 45. 44 is sidewalks on the even side of Beacon Street are in need of repair. And as Councilor Anderson Burgos pointed out, 156 Nonotuck is item 45, and to deal with the water situation and flooding of property as soon as possible.
Yeah.
On the motion to adopt and refer, is there any further discussion?
Mr. President?
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, real briefly, if I could be added on to 45. I know we put that order in there several years ago, and I think Councilor McGee was on that Ward 6 at that time. And I think it's important that maybe you get a copy to the city engineer too, because I'm very familiar with that area because it drains right down. It abuts the cemetery, and there's just nowhere for that water to go. And you know, there might have been something there one time, but everything just floods right there, and it's a serious issue.
Well, now that we have a stronger Ward 6 councilor, I think we have some, look at this, some more luck in getting this accomplished. And these problems are throughout the city, but my heart goes out for anyone because we suffer a little bit ourselves, and there's no simple answers.
No.
Any further discussion? Councilor Bartley.
I just want to make a friendly amendment that we just refer it to committee, the Public Safety Committee, and so we can track it. And then you can talk to the chair of that committee, Danny, and then have them come in for a discussion. That way you can follow it.
Okay.
I'd like to make that amendment.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I'd like that motion.
That motion is made.
Yes.
Councilor Burgos, is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So what we're going to do is, if I heard it correctly, is refer these to the Committee on Public Safety with copies to the DPW
And the engineer.
and the engineer. Yeah. When I say that, I mean it hand in hand, but.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Item 46, introduced by Councilor
Ordinance,
Bartley.
please.
Receive, refer to committee and ordinance. The engineer provide recommendations for no parking signs should be placed. This is on West Glen Street
Yeah.
where it connects with
Ordinance,
Northampton
copy the
Street.
engineer.
Refer to copy the engineer. Refer to committee on ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 47 by Councilor Bartley.
Receive and adopt.
Mayor and Chief of Police accept a donation of drop box for unwanted prescription medications. Both the Office of the Hampden DA and the Holyoke Mall are willing to donate one to the City of Holyoke. The city's Board of Health is in support of this. An official in a neighboring community advised that there is a drop box advise that their Dropbox has been a tremendous success in their city. Motion is to receive and adopt under discussion. Councilor Bartley?
I appreciate that, Mr. President, appreciate the committee's patience. This was a constituent request and did a fair amount of research on this. For some reason, it was offered to the city a few years ago. We rejected it. No reason why, but it's a real benefit to other communities. And we have somebody ready, willing, and able in the DA's office to donate one. Furthermore, the Holyoke Mall wants to donate its Dropbox to the city of Holyoke. They went ahead and purchased their own because they wanted to have programs for citizens to drop off their unused meds. I reached out to the new chief of police. He responded with, yes, I support it. I reached out to the mayor. He responded, yes, I support it. Furthermore, there's a late file order, which I'd like to take up right now, Mr. President. It's late file B, and that's a letter of support from the Board of Health. So if I'm going to motion to suspend the rules, take late file B up at this time, since it goes hand in glove with it. Thank you.
On a motion to suspend the rules to take up late file B, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Just late file B, as Councilor Bartley said, is from Brian Fitzgerald, Director of the Board of Health, addressed to the City Council dated August 6th today. Please know that the July 12th, 2018 Board of Health meeting of the Commissioners voted unanimously to support the placement of a prescription medication disposal kiosk in the city.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So that's it. Oh, it would just be put in the HPD lobby. That's one of them. We could find a home for the other one.
Any further discussion? Councilor Bacon.
I just had a question that was partly answered because I was concerned about the security of this Dropbox because there would be a lot of narcotics potentially dropped into it. So if it's in the police department, okay, but that would be my concern, and maybe we should, even if we receive and adopt it, should we copy it to public safety just on that point? But I'll yield to the maker.
It's kept in the lobby, Mr. President, of the HPD. There's a process and procedure for it to be collected. There is no cost to the city. It's collected by the Hampden County Sheriff's Department. The materials are delivered to Bondi's Island, where they are incinerated pursuant to whatever federal regulations allow that. And so this is a service that's open to citizens of Holyoke 24/7. There'll be adequate security for that box. For if we have a second box, then we'd have to find another secure location, of course. And I would defer to the chief of police as to where he would want it to be placed.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? On the motion then to adopt, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. And on the suspension of rules to receive officially the communication from the Board of Health, all those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Item 48, introduced by Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, Mr. President, could we take 48 and 51 as a package, please?
Suspend the rules for 48 and 51 as a packet. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Both going to finance.
Both go to Committee on Finance. 49 is the Honorable City Council.
48.
48 is the Board of Health Department Head and Animal Control Officer appear before the City Council to discuss both the merits of the Thomas J. O'Connor Animal Control and Adoption Center and the alternatives thereto. And also on 51 is that the mayor and other knowledgeables please give a detailed explanation of how the city employee paid for IT services prior to the close of fiscal 2018. Motion is to receive for the Committee on Finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
And then if I could take 49, 52, and 53 as a package, suspend rules.
Suspend the rules for items 49, 52, and 53 as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 49 is the Honorable City Council accept Mass General Laws 30B. This parcel would be 144 High Street and declare it surplus. 52 is under the same Mass General Laws 30B for 86 Beach Street, declare that property surplus. And 53 is under the same Mass General Laws 30B for a parcel at 405 407 Main Street to declare that property surplus, all these surplus and available for disposition. Motion to take as a package, receive, refer
DGR.
to the Committee on DGR. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 50, introduced by Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, just receive and adopt.
Motion
Second.
made second to receive and adopt. For his tireless work on behalf of the Holyoke Youth, Business, and Public Schools, the City Council bestow a proclamation to Ed Case of the Hampden County Sheriff's Department. Motion receive and adopt. Councilor Bartley.
Receive and adopt, and we have a date for first meeting in October.
Thank
So
you.
he'll be in.
Councilor LeBron Martinez.
Yes, I'm sorry, you didn't look down, but I'm trying to get my name on order 49, if it's possible, with the maker of the order.
No objections. That's done. Anything further on Ed? On the motion to give the proclamation as stated at that meeting in
He's already
October?
been warned about the length of his address.
Very brief.
It'll be on point for sure, but
We'll just bring a referee's whistle and make sure we keep them going. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item, I don't even know where we are. 54. Introduced by Councilor Bresnahan. That the mayor's office provide a contract of the city of Holyoke has with the Volleyball Hall of Fame and Children's Museums within 30 days of this date.
Mr. President, friendly amendment, receive, refer to the mayor's office. Could we get like, oh no, that's fine. I see 30 days. Never mind. Receive and refer to the mayor's office,
Motion made
please.
second to receive, adopt, refer to the mayor's office. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 55, introduced by Gladys LeBron Martinez. Per residents' request, the Parks and Recreation Department consider to remodel Pena Park with more sprinklers for next year's as other parks in the city.
Parks.
Sent to Parks and Recreation, and I also want the mayor to have a copy of this.
Okay. Receive, adopt, refer to Parks and Recreation Commission and Department, and also a copy to the mayor's office. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 56, introduced by Councilor LeBron Martinez. That the signs be placed and do not block the driveway at 3739 Samoset and in front of the homes on Samoset across from McNally Field Park where homeowners have driveways.
ordinance.
Motion
Ordinance,
received
please.
for the Committee on Ordinance. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? So moved. Item 57, introduced by Councilor LeBron Martinez. Per residents' request that the Board of Health enforce the ordinance to those businesses and residential homes who is not keeping their sidewalks and surrounding property clean, presentables in the Ward 1
And Ward B.
in Ward B. 1B?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, 1B, I'm sorry, yeah.
It just reads funny up here. Motion to receive, adopt, refer to the Board of Health?
Yes, please, yep.
Any discussion?
Yeah, friendly amendment.
Councilor Bartley.
You can put Ward 3A and 3B on that as well, please.
3A and 3B.
Yeah.
No objection.
Thank you, no problem.
On the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 58, introduced by Councilor Lisi.
With 56, I'm sorry, with 61 as a package, please?
58 and 61.
Yes.
Second.
58 is the City Council conduct another diversity and leadership training with professional facilitators. And 61 is that the City Council, but I'm sorry, it was by Councilor Lisi. 61 by Councilor McGee, the City Council hire and do compliance sensitivity training.
Receive, adopt, and refer to the City Council President with a copy to the City Council Administrative Assistant.
Motion made second to receive and adopt both of these. Refer to Councilor President McGee with a copy to our administrative assistant.
I like to be added on to those orders with the permission of the maker, please.
With no objections, Councilor LeBron Martinez will be added to the order. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 59, introduced by Councilor Lisi.
Receive and refer to the Public Safety Committee with a copy to the City Engineer.
This is that the city engineer investigate the traffic patterns around Northampton South Street. Motion to receive, adopt a copy to the city engineer and refer this to the Committee on Public Safety. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? So moved. Item 60, introduced by Councilor Lisi.
Receive and refer to the Legal Department with a copy to Ordinance.
Motion is to receive and adopt a request for a legal opinion on the following. Number one, how the deducted funds for Wards 1 and 2 should be established as a result of the host community agreement with RISE and holdings with GTI. 2, if there are any legal ethical issues with the way that these funds are currently established in dispersing the money. 3, if the law department identifies any legal or ethical issues, how might they be addressed and mitigated? 4, how can the city help to build uniformity and transparency into the establishment of these funds and the process by which residents and community groups access those funds? And 5, does the Green Fund, Bird Fund, as it is truly drafted, meet legal and ethical scrutiny? Motion is to receive, adopt, refer to the law department with a copy to ordinance. Any discussion?
I think it's very straightforward. I was surprised to learn recently that the dedicated funds that we extracted from the host community agreement with Rise Holdings, formerly GTI, were not being managed within the city, and I just wanted to do a double check to make sure what the legal and ethical issues are regarding that. If there's none, that's great. If there are some, I'd like to work to mitigate those problems. And then I think we also just need to build some uniformity and transparency in how to do this in the future and how to create a process by which community members access those funds.
Councilor Brown Martinez?
I know that we're sending it to a committee, so I don't want to get into a deep debate, but I also want to say that there's some rumors out there, and I want to clarify for those who are watching, that there is a rumor that these are supposed to be $75,000. The host agreement only is that we're getting for the neighborhood that is being split. It's $15,000, and that is $7,000 for Ward 2 and $7,500 again to Ward 1. So I just want to clarify that, and I'm hoping that this could be also cleared at the committee that is going into. Thank you.
They gave more to campaign than they did to the wards. Wow.
Any further discussion?
Yeah.
On the motion then, all those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Chair suggests items 62 and 63, if there's no objection, be done as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Both
sorry,
introduced
Joe.
by Councilor McGee.
President, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Mike had his hand up, and I don't think you saw him before you went.
You know, I have a problem with peripheral vision.
Yeah.
It's something about I cut out
quick.
one person over here and one person over here on my right, you know? Councilor Sullivan, I apologize.
I just think there's a letter that, one of the late files that might want to go with this. Was 60.
60.
60.
Didn't we receive a letter? Well, we'll get it to it.
The packet?
All right, I'm not aware of it.
Was it in the packet? Oh, was it? Okay.
We received it via email, right?
Yes, we did.
But is it late file too?
I think from Carmen Ocasio.
Yeah, I got that here.
We all have a copy in our desk.
It's actually, it was handed out.
That was at our desk.
Emailed, it was left on our desk, and it's a late file.
Can someone just tell me who it's from so I can find it?
Ocasio, Mr. Ocasio. Mrs.?
Okay, because it's not in our pile. No, it's not that. It has to be filed with the city clerk.
Oh, I thought you meant you didn't have it.
All late files, and even communications, should be filed with the city clerk. 62 and 63 is introduced by Councilor McGee. 62 is that what's that?
Abbreviated reading.
I'm going to do it very abbreviated unless someone, because I think we all know, and I think all of our constituents and all the voters of the city of Holyoke know, there are no changes to the pollings for the Tuesday, September 4th, 2008 state primary. They will be the same locations for all wards, same precincts as have been in the immediate prior elections. And then the 63 is just the announcement, not the announcement, but that the state primaries nomination for candidates of political parties and offices be filled in the state primary on Tuesday, September 4th into several polling places as just presented. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And after the polls are closed, the voters of political parties in the several polling places, they're entitled to vote between these said hours. The candidates are the Senator in Congress, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General, Secretary of State, Treasurer, Auditor, Representative of Congress, Counsel, Senator in General Court, Representative in General Court, District Attorney, Clerk of Courts, and Register of Deeds. If that's enough of a reading, the chair would suggest that we adopt both these orders so that the September 1st state primary can take place. And no changes in the polling places. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. I think I broke Todd's mic here, though. I don't know. Item 64, introduced by Councilor McGee. The DPW remove the grass and weeds near the flower barrels at the Cherry Street Islands and other islands throughout the city. Motion receive, adopt, refer to the DPW. And on that motion, is there any discussion? If there's no objection, I just want to state that there's a barrel at the beginning of this Cherry Street extension that was hit by a truck that was paving the Cherry Street extension, a contractor by the city. And the owner of that said barrel is waiting for an acknowledgement and possible apology, and the owner will replace at his expense that barrel once someone acknowledges that they hit it.
Good luck. Who's the owner?
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah.
Well, and I have witnesses. And we have a new barrel.
Amen.
Item 65, introduced by Councilor McGivern. Order that the legal department of Parks and Rec provide an update with regards to our Roberts football field. Councilor McGivern and Councilor McGee, I apologize. Motion to receive.
The law department and copy to Parks and Rec?
Yes, it's receive, adopt, refer to the law department and the Parks and Rec to get an answer on both the legalities. I'm not sure if Crystal, if the law department's involved in this yet, but as to what Councilor McGee relayed to me in terms of Roberts Field. And it dates back to when the bond was, without our knowledge, changed and that field turf was replaced. And we'd just like to hear what the what's going on out there. And I guess a copy to, who would take Parks and Rec? Is it public safety or public service?
Either one, public service.
Service. On the motion, any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Item 66, introduced by Councilor McGee, the DPW patch and or repave Anniversary Road.
Receive, adopt, and refer to
Motion to receive,
DPW.
adopt, refer to DPW. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 67, introduced by Councilor McGee, that the DPW Parks and Rec remove and replace the damaged playscape at Ian White School. It was hit by a car, and now it's a danger to students. Also, the location should be moved away from the road to a new location nearer to Ian White, maybe behind the baseball field. Motion receive, adopt, and refer to the DPW and Parks and Rec. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved.
Mr. President, can we take 68, 74, and 75 as a package? They're proclamations.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules for 68, 74, and 75 to take these up as a package. All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. These are requests for proclamations. Councilor McGee on 68 for Mr. and Mrs. Brunout for their 60th anniversary. Councilor 74 by Councilor McGee for Mr. and Mrs. Walsh for their 50th anniversary. Councilor 75 by Councilor McGee for Paula Conway. This is something that I'm sorry, I think everybody's got an email on this, but just so people at home can hear, Paula Conway is for 35 years been a coaching volleyball at the Holyoke High School. And I don't have my email in front of me, but can someone help me out? On Saturday, August, not this Saturday, but a week from this Saturday, 18th, they will be dedicating the volleyball part of the gym will be dedicated to Paula. I'm glad everybody's helping me out. Can you all wake up here? Item 99 is also introduced, a proclamation for Mr. and Mrs. McGivern for their anniversary. All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved.
I'm celebrating 10 years this year.
Whoa, whoa.
Mr. President,
Counselor Tomlin.
yeah, I just got the email, I just looked it up, the volleyball court dedication, August 18th, 10:30 a.m. to 12
Thank you.
p.m. at the
Thank you.
Holyoke High School main gym.
Thank you, Counselor Tomlin.
You got it.
I know Paula is very excited and thrilled about this and very well-deserved. 69 is introduced by Counselor McGee and Counselor Anderson Burgos. The order of the Board of Health, Police Department contact the management company for Jarvis Heights with regards to trash issues, enforcement of no parking. There are several complaints of people parking and no parking even overnight and dumping trash in the area. Motion receive,
See the copy of the Board of Health and
adopt, refer to the Board of Health
Police
and the
Department?
Police Department.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? So moved. Item 70. Did we miss one? No. Item 70, introduced by Councilor McGee and Councilor Leahy, or the DPW Suez Street Sweeper to the Linder Heights Driscoll Lane area.
Receive, adopts in the DPW.
Motion made second, receive, adopt, refer to the DPW, a friendly amendment, not until they finish Ward 3, right, David? On the motion, any discussion?
Mr.
Councilor Tomlin.
Yeah, just a correction on that. I know that everybody gets that street messed up. I've delivered over there for several years. It's Dixon Lane, D-I-C.
Yeah, talk to Todd. I
That's
didn't write it.
D-I-C. And if I could add my name to that, I very
So
well aware
moved.
of that. Thank you.
Councilor Soto's name also? Oh, boy. Now I know you're all asleep. On that motion, all those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Item 71, introduced by Councilor McGee. City imposed an excise tax on Airbnbs. Motion made second, receive, refer to Committee on Finance. All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Item 72, introduced by Councilor McGee, chapters, Mass General Laws, Chapter 33, Section 59, more specifically that an employee of the Commonwealth in a reserve component of the Armed Forces of the United States who is ordered to service for more than 30 consecutive days shall be paid the regular base salary pay as a public employee for each such period of military leave of absence, reduced by any amount received either from the United States or Commonwealth at the base pay for the military service performed during the same period.
Ordinance, please.
Motion made second to receive for the Committee on Ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 74,
Three.
introduced by Councilor McGee.
Abbreviated reading ordinance.
Motion made second to receive for the Committee on Ordinance, a similar order from Mass General Laws dealing with the National Guard and the active duty in foreign countries and eligibility to be established by the Board of, in terms of property tax to be, abatements to be established by the Board of Assessors. Refer to Committee on Ordinance. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Item 76, introduced by Councilor McGivern. This is Mass General Laws, Section 46, the Homeland Security Grant. Motion received for the Committee on Finance.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Items 77, 78, maybe 79, 80.
80.
We can, if we just do 77,
Oh,
78,
Okay.
receive both. 77 is the training grant authorized. We're looking for to authorize the acceptance and establish a fund. And item 78 is a support grant. Same request that we receive it and establish a fund. Refer to Committee on Finance. All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? If we could do 78 and 79 this evening, it'll save a lot of,
You mean 79 and 80?
79, 80.
Yeah.
No objections. They're both introduced myself. These are the ones that we've been doing quite regular. Sergeants and patrolmen, total of $9,627.70. This is from their salaries to injured on duty. It's just swapping the same amount from one account to the other for accounting purposes. 80 is the same thing, but firefighters from $1,969 to injured on duty, same idea. They're just swapping the, for accounting purposes, the money from one account to another. Motion to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Councilor
Motion.
Bacon?
Can you just let us know how many are out?
In the police department,
Injured.
it's a total of 4. In And the fire department, this is one at the moment, one injured.
That's good for fire.
Getting better.
Thank you.
Pass first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? So moved.
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion made, second to pass the second reading. If there's no further discussion, the clerk will call the roll. We're voting on both of them. A motion to adopt would allow this transfer to take place. A motion not to would deny the transfer.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentin,
Yes.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan,
Yes.
Leahy. 10 yeas.
By your vote, I wasn't counting there one. I don't know. I lost it.
Drop it like flies.
By your vote, you've adopted both orders and allowed the transfer. If we could, together, as a package, do items 81, 82, 83, 84,
I throw in 85 and 86.
84 and 85, I'm sorry, I had this on my other agenda, but we do 81, 82, 83 as a package,
Second.
and we refer to the Committee on Finance. Each of these are requests for bondings. The bonds are for different and various things within the city, including trucks and the fire department, Westfield Road improvements, and some other improvements in the areas of Northampton Street. Motion refer to committee for study. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I apologize, but items, if we could do items 84 and 85 together as a package, or what we just did, just
So moved.
two more items. All those in favor for
Aye.
suspension? Any opposed? So moved. From the police department, the total is $9,627.
Joe, is that a duplicate? Because it
You know,
seems like
it's
exactly the
It's
same.
the same number.
Same number exactly. Is
Yeah.
it-
Irma, are these duplicates?
Are they two separate?
Looks it.
Yeah, but we just adopted the same amounts and the same thing.
Yeah, exactly the same.
Okay. Let me just check one thing. Yeah, no, it's the same police officers and the same one fireman. So I'm just going to say it's a duplicate and that
Motion to
we've
leave
already
to
done it.
Leave to withdraw.
Leave to withdraw
Second.
unless we're otherwise told. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Last one, non-controversial.
Ordinance.
Receive and refer to Committee on Ordinance. Councilor McGivern was requested to file this order by an elected official. Councilor McGivern agreed to file this order, and I believe it should be studied. The numbers are just arbitrary numbers. They are not tied into any recommendation, but each of these elected officials have not received, I believe, some cases it's like well over 10 years, going on 15 years, any type of look at a salary increase. Motion to receive and refer to Committee on Ordinance for study. Any discussion?
Just on a friendly amendment, do you have to have it as January 1, 2019? Can we amend that in committee, or do you want to, I mean, why does that date, I mean, that date sticks out to me because there are at least 1, 2, 3 elected officials that are already in office. I mean, they ran for the office, I know what they're getting.
You know what the date
I
is,
can't
January?
imagine why we would ever approve it for January 1, 2019.
Probably 2020, probably, if anything.
If,
Yeah.
well,
The following
I mean,
year.
After the next
2022?
election.
Or 2022,
I
right,
would-
after the next election, right.
So-
It's a good point. Yes, it can be amended in committee.
Okay.
And yes,
So,
it's a
all right,
good
then we don't have
point,
to worry about it now. That's-
and we
thank you,
have
Mr.
in the past talked about, you don't have to do it this way, but in the past, sometimes the flavor is to do it for the next person elected. But it can be done in committee. Yep.
Thank you.
Councilor Brown Martinez?
Sorry, can you read that order again? Can you read it again?
Yeah. That's Schedule B compensation for all elected officials. They're listed in order, which is Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances be amended as following. Councilor Bartley pointed out, effective January 1st, 2019. That's the request coming in. And to answer to Councilor Bartley's question is that can be amended. The listed salaries are not recommendations, just numbers that are put there for starting points to look for discussion.
Let's find the $2 million.
I don't know, sure, do we pass the motion to refer to committee?
Yes.
All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. There were, at the beginning of the meeting, 5 late files. We've acted on one that we were told about but has not been filed yet. The remaining 4, I did review them quickly. I was going to deny them, but then when Councilor Bartley noted that the Board of Health was necessary for this evening, I think we can do this very quickly. 3 of these are communications. Item A is a communication from the school department. This involves the middle school's project. It's from the mayor. It's talking about the schematic design for both the projects, and together would serve the middle argument for serving the middle school population of the city, and reminding us, I believe, that we do have to take a vote. I have been in touch with the, not with Margaret Walker, but Todd McGee, our president, has been meeting with and been in touch with Margaret Walker, and I have been in touch with the school committee, and that this vote is pending, but we do have time to act on it. There is another similar communication order within the Committee on Finance. I suggest we refer this to Finance.
Motion to receive and refer to finance.
All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Late file C is a transfer request. Firefighters, $11,115.47 to Deputy Chiefs, $11,115.47. This goes to the contract that came in earlier. Motion received for the Committee on Finance. Item D is a communication also from our mayor, from our city solicitor, and this is in regards to correspondence regarding enforceability of certain conditions being considered with respects and petitions for special permits on the whole zoning ordinance. Motion made second to receive. If everybody didn't get a copy of the ordinance and a copy to everybody. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. The final one is from Elisa Zoller, dated April 6th, the 2017 annual plan reprogramming of community block grants. Due to changes in CDGP funds activities, a substantial amendment to fiscal 2017 annual plan is necessary. The United States Department of Housing, HUD, requires substantial statements of annual plans be reviewed in a similar manner. I would suggest this will go to DGR as...
Right, yeah, we have a meeting for September 10th, and that's when we're meeting.
Okay, refer to committee on DGR. Does cite some different parks and equipment and stuff that is part of the of this proposal. Motion refer to committee. Councilor Brown Martinez, a copy for you too, so if you haven't seen it, because I think most of these parks are in your ward.
Yes.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Guess
job,
what?
Joe. Motion to adjourn.
Motion made second to adjourn. Thank you, everybody. The Midsummer Nightmare G meeting is not record, as Councilor Valentine said, 9:30, but I think we did pretty good, especially with the late start.
It's still
Motion to adjourn. All those in
Tuesday.
favor? Any opposed? So moved.